Good morning to you in your SAfm sports headlines. It is a big night, well, for the athletes, but a tough one for Team South Africa as Prudence Sekgodiso faded with a special win for Richardson. And we also have another story that's making the rounds where a devastating blow for South Africa's 4x100-meter relay team as Benjamin Richardson is injured. We'll find out more at around 6:30.
Getting ahead of the morning with #SAfm Breakfast.
7 minutes past 6, you're with SAfm. Fantastic to be along with you. It is a Tuesday morning, the 6th day of August already. It's a busy morning. Let's run through quickly what you can expect today. First of all, we're going to get an update of what's happening in Bangladesh. International clashes in Bangladesh. 300 people dead there amid escalating protests. We will get an update on what's expected there and what's come out of that. There was expected to be an announcement from the military leader last night. Then there's some good news in KwaZulu-Natal. It seems as if the 2-year dispute over taxi routes in KwaZulu-Natal has come to an end. We'll get an update. It's long-distance routes. They seem to have reached an agreement which will hopefully end the violence up there. Then, if you're anywhere near the Yexke River, you will know that there's a little... I don't want to use the word stench. There's a little whiff of something that comes from the Yexke River if you drive through the dips. But if you live along there, you will know that it is hazardous, the Yexke River. And apparently it's got even worse now. And residents have been warned to stay away from the river while the city's investigating what is going on there. We're going to talk to a ward councillor that's situated along the riverbanks and get an update. The ANC are busy with their 3-day lekgotla, trying to work out what went wrong in the national elections that were held recently. They've attributed it, or at least the president has, to declining electoral support to tribalism and the emergence of the MK party. The president of the ANC saying that they will now focus on the metros. They feel that it was the loss of service delivery in the metros that has caused the ANC to lose its support. We'll talk to a political analyst about that, and I'd love to get your views. Why do you think the ANC lost its support in the last elections? There is worrying... we're going to hear from the president of the Congress of Traditional Leaders of South Africa. This is a debate with the ANC and traditional leaders. ANC saying maybe they should move away from using traditional leaders. Traditional leaders not happy with that, and we'll find out why. Human trafficking, you heard Elvis talking about that story now. It's been in the news for a little while as well. Human trafficking, increasingly prevalent in South Africa. Police have rescued, this last weekend, 90 undocumented nationals from a human trafficking ring in Johannesburg. But also the amounts of people that are being kidnapped as well that form part of this. And we'll talk to a criminologist and find out, is it more? Is it less? Are we just hearing more about this now? And what is the situation at the moment? We'll continue with that into the between 7 and 8 today. And then we're going to give some money away today. Our big competition, $8,800 for SAfm's 88th birthday. I think you might still stand a chance of winning 8,800 Rand. SAfm giving away 88,000 Rand in cash to 10 winners in the 88th birthday competition. To stand a chance to win your share of that money, follow these steps, right? Stay tuned to us. Makes sense. Then you got to SMS SAfm 88 followed by your name to 41391. It's going to cost you R1.50, no free SMSs apply. And you could stand a chance of winning 8,800 Rand. We're giving that away after 8 o'clock today. So you could win, be one of 10 people today. SMS SAfm 88, or number 88, SAfm 88, followed by your name to 41391. R1.50, no free SMSs apply. We'll be giving that away later on. Welcome to the show.
Catch the Tastemaster Junior this Tuesday evening at 7 on SABC2. It's the first elimination challenge, and to stay in the competition, the bottom 6 contestants must channel their inner Italian by baking a delicious handmade pizza using leftovers from the fridge. Who will survive to bake another day? Find out on the Tastemaster Junior. Tuesdays at 7, repeat Wednesdays at 1, and Sundays at 4 p.m. Only on SABC2.
Babina Noko returns to the battlefield with a great strategy to display a melody of victory. But the citizens are shaking their heads. Eric Tinkler's boys are confident that they will land successfully in the last four. This is the MTN8 quarterfinal. Wafa Wafa. Catch Sekhukhune United FC and Cape Town City FC on Saturday, 10 August at 2:30 p.m. Live on SABC1 and SABC radio stations. Also available on SABC Plus and SABCSport.com. #We love it here. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
The Daily News Diary on SAfm.
Let's see what the newsroom are following today. Anne Musa, good morning to you.
Good morning, John.
You got a smile on your face today.
Can you see it?
I can, right through the radio. What do you got planned today?
Well, the ANC NEC Lekgotla wrapping up today. It was the 6-day gathering, which started off with the ANC NEC meeting, and just for the party to reflect on the outcomes of the elections and the program of action for the next year. Several ANC NEC members are expected to brief the media today. The private prosecution case of former President Jacob Zuma against President Cyril Ramaphosa is back in court, and Zuma will attend in his capacity as private prosecutor in the High Court in Johannesburg, and he has charged Ramaphosa as an accessory after the fact, accusing him of failing to take action against the NPA prosecutor advocate Billy Downer, who allegedly leaked his private medical records to the media. And suspects linked to the 2 billion rand drug bust set to appear in court, and that is 2 of the 5 people charged with manufacturing and dealing in drugs are expected to apply for bail today, and they were arrested along with the 3 Mexican nationals who abandoned their bail application, and they were arrested after the Hawks discovered that illicit drug lab 3 weeks ago in Limpopo. The accused in the 280 million rand Estina dairy matter, they've applied to the Free State High Court to have their matter struck off the roll due to undue delays, and their lawyers requested the court to postpone the trial to today, and this to allow them time to submit replying affidavits to the court. And the Northwest MEC for Community Safety and Transport Management, Wessels Morueng, he led an unannounced oversight visits to police stations last night in the Klerksdorp area, and the visit actually follows after 8 people were shot and killed during a shooting incident at a tavern in Kanana over a week ago. And now he says that he intends to engage the National Minister of Police, Senzo Mchunu, to assist with the capacity and resource challenges that's faced by quite a number of police stations in and around Klerksdorp. And lastly, we also have reaction from the Justice and Constitutional Development Minister, Thembi Simelane, who has called for the full prosecution of those who target elderly people, and this after the rape of the 101-year-old woman from Zai Plus.
Horrific story that. It makes no sense in my head.
Sure.
All right. Anne Musa, busy news diary. She'll keep an eye on all of that. Headlines coming up with Anne in about 15 minutes, and then full bulletins at the top of the hour every hour.
Don Gerika on SAfm.
Let's have a look at your weather this morning. No warning, so let's go straight into it. Pretoria today, partly cloudy this morning, otherwise fine, a 4 to a high of 20. Johannesburg and Vereeniging today going to be fine. Joburg 3 to 19, Vereeniging -1 to 21. And Mbombela is going to be cloudy this morning, some fog patches, otherwise partly cloudy, 13 to 21. Polokwane, cloudy this morning, otherwise partly cloudy. It'll become fine in the afternoon, 10 to 20. Mahikeng and Vryburg going to be fine. Mahikeng from 2 to 23. Vryburg -3 to 21. Bloemfontein, Kimberley, Uppington all fine. Bloemfontein -4 to 18. Kimberley -2 to 20. Uppington -2 to 22. Cape Town today partly cloudy with a light northwesterly wind. It'll become light and variable this evening, 10 to 18. George is fine, a light to moderate northwesterly, becoming light northeasterly to easterly this afternoon, 6 to 18. Gqeberha's fine, a moderate southwesterly wind, 6 to 20. East London also fine, a light northwester. It'll become light and variable in the afternoon, 7 to 22. Durban is fine, a light northwesterly wind until late morning, otherwise a light to moderate northeasterly, 12 to 24. Richards Bay is partly cloudy at first, otherwise fine, moderate northerly to northwesterly until late morning, otherwise moderate to fresh northeasterly, 10 to 25. And Pietermaritzburg's just fine, 6 to 25.
Winners
Finalists, fan favorites, and viral sensations from previous seasons of America's Got Talent return to the stage to compete for the All-Star title. Join Heidi Klum, Howie Mandel, and Simon Cowell as they decide who is the best of the best. The creme de la creme, the top dog, is in Jamatota. It's a festival of talent on America's Got Talent All-Stars. Saturdays at 6:30 p.m. on S3. Channel your best entertainment with America's Got Talent All-Stars. Only on S3. Open up.
For credible and comprehensive coverage of South Africa's fast-moving mining industry and the people shaping it, click through to Creamer Media's Mining Weekly. From policy and innovation to market-moving trends, Creamer Media's Mining Weekly keeps your finger on the resources pulse. For even deeper insight, subscribe to our New Look weekly magazine, out every Friday, together with engineering news. Creamer Media's Mining Weekly. Current, credible, comprehensive.
You wouldn't think of him without thinking of gold. Wade van Niekerk won gold and broke Michael Johnson's 17-year-old world record.
He's pulling away. It's an unbelievable victory by a huge margin. A century of history and 43.03.
Van Niekerk's performance at the men's 400-meter final will undoubtedly be remembered forever. Although he was running blind in lane 8, considered the worst lane on the track, the 24-year-old rider gave it his all and broke a 17-year-old record and won gold at the same time. South Africa left Rio with 10 medals and numerous first times. The country's athletes wrote their stories into the Olympic history books and will forever be admired for their achievements. Magical moments of the Olympics, brought to you by SABC Sport, proud broadcaster of the Olympic Games Paris 2024.
For the love of the game.
Worldview Update, bringing you closer to international or global news.
International news, Bangladesh has had, what can we call it, riots? Yes, I think we can. Death toll hit 300. Escalating protests happening in Bangladesh. It all seemed to reach a climax over the weekend and into Monday. Let's find out what's happening there with Naomi Hussain, who's a professor of development studies at the University of London. Naomi, good morning to you. Thanks very much for joining us. Some background. What was leading up to these protests?
Well, hi, good morning. There was a large protest against a quota system in government service, government civil service jobs that was favouring the followers of the ruling party. In fact, those jobs were going to the veterans of the Liberation War in 1971. And so students were very upset about this. They wanted this to be reformed. They wanted other reforms in that system. And they've been protesting peacefully for some time. And the Prime Minister said something that really upset them. She described them as essentially traitors. And they started to protest with, increasing numbers. They sent the security forces in to beat them up, and it all exploded. And yesterday, the Prime Minister finally left after some 300 people had been killed. The country was in shock after all this violence. But yesterday, after Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina resigned and left the country, everyone was celebrating, but also there was a lot of looting and violence. So it's been a very, very long month. They call it the 36th day of July because the protest started at the beginning of July, but it's been a very, very busy time in Bangladesh and very, very difficult, very bloody, and lots of damage.
Has the Prime Minister resigned now?
Yes, she resigned yesterday.
Right.
She resigned yesterday. She fled to India. That's as we know it where she is, but she might be moving to London.
I was looking at visuals of what's happening inside of Parliament. Is there any sort of leadership in the country at the moment?
This is the thing that's really worrying a lot of us right now, is that the army stepped in order to push the government out. I think that's not exactly quite right, but to encourage the government to resign.
Right.
And after that, they seem to have just walked off and left protesters to do what they will. There's been looting, there's been violence. I think a lot of the minority groups are very concerned, and there have been reports of violence against minority groups, but a lot of people are standing to protect their the community members that are being affected. It's been a lot. I can't really summarize it very well, because it's the whole country of 170 million people has been in turmoil.
The army chief was scheduled to address the nation yesterday. What did he say?
He said that the Prime Minister was leaving. They were going to create an interim non-party government, and that is what they are planning to do now. The student protesters who have been demanding these reforms, this resignation of the government and an interim government, have now asked for Professor Yunus, who is the founder of the Grameen Bank, and a Nobel Peace Prize winner, to be the head of the new interim government. So it looks like that might happen.
What sort of, in the interim, what's happening? Is it complete chaos?
It looks to be quite chaotic. The army have just, as I said, walked away and let people get on with it. There were people looting the Prime Minister's house, stealing fish out of her fridge, taking off with her clothes and all sorts. As you said, the Parliament building was stormed. There were people sitting in the House of Parliament, which was quite an entertaining scene. But there was also more serious violence all around the country. The people from the ruling party, their property was being looted and burned. And it looks like there may have been actually more deaths yesterday than there were the previous day when the protesters were fighting against the security forces. So it wasn't, I think people were very happy for quite a while yesterday after Sheikh Hasina resigned. She was increasingly authoritarian after 15 years of rule. It was a very repressive rule, particularly towards the end. But actually, I don't feel very jubilant, because it has been quite violent yesterday, and nobody seems to be in charge currently.
How is this affecting neighbours, India and Myanmar, Bhutan, there's Nepal?
I don't think it should be affecting them at all yet. I think the Indian foreign policy world has gone into overdrive, worrying about what this means for them. They're very concerned, I think, that this will lead to the rise of Islamists in Bangladesh, but there's no reason to believe that is the case. I think this is rumour mongering, and the fact that the Indian government has for very, very long supported Sheikh Hasina's government in Bangladesh, and found them to be very useful allies, useful neighbours. But it has not yet anyway had any effects. I'm a bit concerned. We have heard that the Rohingya refugees from Myanmar, a million of whom live in Bangladesh, just on the borders with Myanmar, have been quite neglected and lost their security protection over the last few months, and there have been reports that they are being affected in that way. But I'm not sure that they're any, other than what has been going on in the country has been affecting them quite so directly.
I want to come back to the civil service job quotas. That's the reason for all of this. Can you explain a little bit more about who was being given jobs, who were being denied jobs?
Sure. Well, this was the initial trigger. The movement moved on after the police started firing and shooting people dead point blank. It moved on to a demand for accountability and justice quite quickly. But the original trigger was that in 1971, Bangladesh got its independence from Pakistan, and the people who fought in that war, after that war, were given the chance to join government service. And that there was a reservation system, a quota, so that around 30% of all government jobs were earmarked for people who had fought in the Liberation War. Now, this has persisted. Now, the Liberation War is 53 years ago now, so it's now the grandchildren of these people. The students, there's not many very, very good jobs in Bangladesh. It's a country of 170 million people. It's a lower middle income country, just about. And people compete very heavily for these government jobs, which are secure jobs. They are respectable jobs, and it's also a job to really, a chance to serve your country. And a lot of these young people are very patriotic and they want to serve their country. So the really brightest students get past the exams and get into the civil service. But a huge proportion, 30%, are earmarked, as I say, for these Liberation War veterans. So students protested back in 2018 and managed to get this law changed. The government changed the law, said yes, okay, we'll get rid of this quota system. But somebody took the case to court, claiming that this right should be reinstated, and it was reinstated. Students protested again. And in fact, the law was changed before this protest movement ended in their favour. But by this time it was too late because, as I say, the police had opened fire on people. It killed around 300 students and other protesters. It was the killing. Definitely the killing was horrific. But there was something about the callousness with which the government with which security forces killed students and young people and others on the street. There were some really horrendous scenes. There was one young man, Abu Saeed in Rangpur in the north, who just stood there with his arms open. He was obviously trusting that they wouldn't kill him, and they shot him dead, point blank. There was another young man whose body was, in fact, he wasn't quite dead at the time. He died later, whose body was on the top of an armoured personnel carrier. And the security staff just tossed his body off the top of it. There was so many incidents like that really shocked and horrified the nation. People were in absolute shock. I spoke to people who, like labor leaders, civil society leaders, who had faced the worst of this regime, who'd been beaten up, who'd been imprisoned, who'd seen their friends even tortured and killed, and they were in shock. So you can imagine the level of shock in the society. I mean, it's something perhaps you can remember. In your country, you remember from an earlier generation. That kind of violence, that kind of oppression.
Professor, what is I see the Sheikh's family, or is it his son that has spoken out from the United States? What do they have to say?
So Sheikh Hasina's son Sajib was Joy, he's known as. I think they basically asked her to step down after all of these protests. There's some history here. The history is that Sheikh Hasina's father, who we call Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, was the founder, the leader of the liberation movement in Bangladesh, a bit like, I guess, Nelson Mandela. And he was a great hero, but he only ruled for a few years before his rule also turned to a one-party state, and he was assassinated with all of Sheikh Hasina's family except for one sister in 1975. It was an absolute bloodbath. It was hideous. It was absolutely terrible. So she was, 25 or whatever, and all her family had been killed, including her hero father. So there's that history there. And so political violence in Bangladesh has always been very personal, very personalized. And I think there was always this fear that somebody would try to kill her. And I suspect this is why ultimately she was persuaded to step down and leave the country, because I think the crowds were already circling her house in Dhaka yesterday.
Naomi Hussain is a professor of development studies at the University of London. Thanks very much for explaining all of that to us. You with SAfm. Coming up in a bit, a 2-year dispute over taxi routes in KwaZulu-Natal has come to an end. That's taxi routes in Ulundi and Upongola in the northern parts of the province. And what is going on with the Yixke River? Apparently the river has significant health concerns. It's the largest and most concerning injection of toxins. We'll talk to Annette Depp, who is the City of Johannesburg Ward Councillor in Ward 132. Get an update on what's happening on that river. Markets, fascinating to watch yesterday. And Taulang Lechela will give us an update on what was happening on the markets yesterday. Red all over the place, but it seems as if South Africa's weathered the storm. We will find out. Sports with Zai coming up. Traffic with Rob in a minute. First news headlines at 6:30.
Good morning. In the headlines, former President Jacob Zuma is today expected to make an appearance in his capacity as private prosecutor in the High Court in Johannesburg. Zuma has to appear to ensure that his matter stays on the court roll in the private prosecution case against his successor, President Cyril Ramaphosa. The ANC says the failure to get the economy working for all South Africans has the potential to undermine the credibility of the democratic order. The party Police top brass from the NEC, members deployed in government and alliance partners have been meeting in the NEC Lekgotla and Boksburg East of Johannesburg. And the United Nations has sacked 9 members of its refugee agency in Gaza after it found they may have been involved in the October 7th attacks on Israel last year. I'll have details on these and other stories at 7.
SAfm, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Remind about the very heavy extreme mist and fog out in Mpumalanga this morning around the Emeletheli region. Any route in that area is going slow and sort of flashing up on our systems as backlogging. That just gives you an idea of how heavy the visibility issues are this morning. The N12 is standing between Ochis and Emeletheli. 555 that links you from Emeletheli down through to Ochis. That is also under some pressure, and multiple routes in the area just going slowly. So if you don't fancy it, travel a little bit later once the weather conditions have cleared, visibility improves. We'll keep eyes on that area for you, particularly the N12. You get the most horrific crashes in conditions like this, and that N12 is standing both ways at this stage. N12 and R24 routes coming into Galilees from Ekurhuleni are under pressure, crash blocking the middle lane before you get to Galilee. So coming in from Boksburg, coming in from the airport, you will hit some delays. Durban side, the Higginson Highway out towards Haven side, very slow. And Cape Town, day 2 of no traffic lights. Stellenbosch arterial at the R300. There's the delay coming through from the bottom of Kales River and Blackheath towards the Delft and Belhar region. Rob Byrne, SAfm Traffic.
This is SAfm Sport with Zai Khan.
Zai, good morning.
Good morning.
Busy, difficult day on the track, you say.
Ooh, you know what they say. You win some, you lose some. Let's keep our spirits high and looking forward to our next batch of athletes. But for Team South Africa last night at the Paris Olympics, middle distance runner Prudence Sekgodiso faded in the final stretch, finishing 8th in the 800-meter final. In a bigger blow, sprinter Benjamin Richardson pulled up with a hamstring injury during his 200-meter heat, casting doubt on his participation in the 4x100-meter relay. Despite this, Sean Maswanganyi and Wade van Niekerk kept their medal hopes alive, progressing to the 200-meter semi-final. Van Niekerk finished 3rd in his heat with a time of 20.42 seconds, while Maswanganyi also finished 3rd in his race, clocking 20.2 seconds. Here's Wade van Niekerk.
Yeah, it was a good initial run out of the bend, but I know there's still a bit of work that needs to be done in the latter stage of the race, but we'll shake that off and try again next round. Yeah, for sure, a bit rusty out of the first round, but I know that I can do better.
Now, Team South Africa's hopes for a medal in that men's 4x100-meter relay. They'll have to find a replacement for key team member Benjamin Richardson. He suffered an upper leg injury during the 200-meter heats, limping across the finish line in last place. The injury puts his participation in the team in serious doubt. The heats for the men's 4x100-meter relay are scheduled for Thursday, the 8th of August, the final on Friday, the 9th. Now, the coaching staff face a crucial decision on how to fill Richardson's void in the lineup, which does include athletes like Akani Simbine and Sean Maswanganyi. More running. Kenya's Beatrice Chebet has won gold at the Olympic women's 5,000 metres last night, easily defeating the Dutch woman Sifan Hassan to end the defending champion's dreams of a long-distance treble. Chebet accelerated past compatriot Faith Kipyegon down the home straight to take gold in 14 minutes, 28.56 seconds. Kipyegon crossed the finish line in second place, but was swiftly disqualified for a shove, and that was in the closing laps. Gymnastics, Simone Biles suffered a shock defeat. That's in the floor exercise final at the Paris Olympics after 2 costly errors allowed Brazilian gymnast Rebecca Andrade to snatch an unexpected gold at the Paris Games. Biles had to settle for silver, while her American teammate Jordan Childs claimed bronze. Soccer action at the Olympics. Spain reached their second successive Olympic men's football final when they beat Morocco 2-1 at the Marseille Stadium last night. Spain, they fought back after Morocco went ahead to earn the chance to improve on their silver medal at the Tokyo Games. And rugby news, the Springboks are set to tackle the Wallabies in front of a sold-out crowd at the Suncorp Stadium with fewer than 500 tickets left for the Rugby Championship opener. The Boks will kick off the 2024 Super Rugby Championship against the Wallabies at the Suncorp Stadium. The first time the world champions will be in Brisbane since 2021. It appears that the Wallabies will be playing in front of a sold-out crowd as they announced on their social media pages that fewer than 500 tickets remained for the match. And that's how we wrap it up. More sport, top of the hour.
I have a plan.
Plan A, Plan B.
No. Cheslin Colby's visa for Paris should still be fine, right? Because he was at the World Cup.
Yeah.
So if he flies out like now from Australia, and then he does the semis and the finals on Friday, he can fly Friday evening. He'll be back in time because of the time zone difference. He'll be back in time to be able to play against the Wallabies.
Yeah.
Cheslin Colby, the hero, he'll solve everything.
Let's do it.
Sidestep, all those like that.
Yeah. He's a high flyer, man.
More sport with Zion in an hour's time.
The Business Update on SAfm.
Tauleng Lejela, good morning to you. We'll get to the numbers in a bit. I'm a little bit worried about that. Let's talk about the stories first. Impact has some confidence in South Africa.
Morning, John, and that's right. Impact, just one of the many local companies optimistic about prospects due to an improvement in power supply and turnaround efforts bearing fruit at Transnet. Now, the update comes alongside Impact's half-year earnings, where the paper and packaging company reported a 1.1% slide in revenue and an over 30% plunge in earnings. This was largely due to subdued demand for its products and lower selling prices on the back of a tough trading environment. A highlight, though, is that its exports surged 36%, and company CEO Bruce Strong was quoted in a Business Day article saying Impact's exports more of its products now, and that it's looking to do more of that as the global market picks up. And it's also looking at improving its position in the local market as the economy also improves.
And Copper 360 is doing something as well. What's happening?
So the copper miner has a copper mine in Rydberg in the Northern Cape. This mine was closed, but it's now up and running again and is expected to be Copper 360's cash cow. Now, last week, the mine produced its first copper ore in over 40 years, marking a major milestone in that region. The underground mine is one of a dozen dormant copper mines spread across Copper 360's consolidating mining license area of about 19,000 hectares. Production has begun, starting with 12,000 tons in the first month. This will increase to about 45,000 tons over the next 4 months as a new processing plant is completed and starts operating. Company CEO Jan Nelson said this change will shift the company's focus from mainly producing copper plates to mostly producing copper concentrate. Now, this is a big move as demand for copper grows as the uptake of green metals across the world increases.
Okay, the numbers. What a day yesterday.
What a day, John. You saw investors on Mondays turn to safe haven assets like gold as a global stock sell-off deepened following weaker than expected US jobs data at the end of last week. It really was a bloodbath in yesterday's trade, with the Nasdaq and S&P 500 closing over 3% lower. Over in Asia, Japan's Nikkei fell over 13% at some point yesterday. It has, however, retraced those losses, trading in the green this morning. In fact, it's green across the board in that region. Seems like markets are settling after a roller coaster start yesterday. Back at home, the JSE was caught up in that negative global sentiment, with the all share losing over 1% in yesterday's session. The rand, in the meantime, hit a near 2-month low amid recession fears, trading at 1868 against the dollar at one point yesterday. It has since recovered, sitting at 1849 to the greenback this morning.
Tauleng Lejela keeping an update on all the markets. We'll get another update from her in an hour's time.
In August, we celebrate our amazing women farmers who nourish and clothe our nation.
Farmers and researchers and academia can work closely.
Catch Living Land on Sundays at 11 a.m. on SABC2.
Babina Noko returns to the battlefield with a great strategy to display a melody of victory. But the citizens are shaking their heads. Eric Tinkler's boys are confident that they will land successfully in the last four. This is the MTN8 quarterfinal. Wafa Wafa. Catch Sekhukhune United FC and Cape Town City FC on Saturday, 10 August at 2:30 p.m. Live on SABC 1 and SABC radio stations. Also available on SABC Plus and SABCSport.com. Hashtag We Love It Here. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Get affordable car insurance and do more with the money you could save every month. 69-year-old Vivian can afford to treat herself more now that she pays an awesome car insurance premium of only 749 Rand a month to insure her grey 2024 Suzuki Jimny automatic 5-door. Do you want more? SMS out to 30754 to get a quote. That's out to 30754 now. A licensed insurer and FSP. T's and C's online.
Keeping you informed and ready for the day ahead on hashtag SAfm Breakfast.
It's 19 minutes to 7. You're with SAfm. I'm John Gericke. Good morning to you. Seems like there's good news in KwaZulu-Natal. The Department of Transport there has confirmed the end of a 2-year dispute over taxi routes in Ulundi and Upongola in the northern parts of the province. Let's find out a little bit more with the spokesperson for the KwaZulu-Natal Department of Transport, Ndabazinhle Sibiya. Thank you very much for joining us, Ndabazinhle. Sorry, apologies. We will, in fact, let's just... I'm talking to the MEC. Oh, the MEC is there. All right. Good morning to MEC. Thank you very much for joining us. Good news in the province of KwaZulu-Natal.
Thank you so much, John. Let me greet your good self and your listeners at home. It looks like more to get back and forth. Yes, it's the MEC. Case at the end.
It's good. Sorry, MEC. Apologies for that. I got different numbers here. All right. What's been happening in KwaZulu-Natal? Good news.
No. Thank you so much. I think we must just thank the role that has been played by the conflict management team, but I think we must also highlight that there is a lot that is getting done behind the closed door at the taxi industry. On our first day, we were congratulated by Santaco leadership, and almost all the taxi associations followed the suit. We then agreed in principle that we want to enhance the scope of ensuring that the taxi industry becomes a pivotal role in even contributing to the GDP. Remember, 70% of commuters rely upon these taxis, so it must be treated as a proper business. It must be adhering to all the rules that are on the road as well, so that we change the outlook. I'm sure you know that for quite some time, there's been that stigma that in the taxi industry don't do things correctly. So I think that is going to change.
How long has these negotiations been going on?
It has been going on for 2 years.
Sure.
You know by now, John, that in the taxi industry, the issue of bully tactics and the issue of those with more power, they'll always monopolize the journey, they'll always monopolize the route. So it was happening like that. But they've since agreed upon that both Durban and Johannesburg route is going to be shared equally, and they are going to complement each other. They're no longer going to compete. Whoever qualifies will be able to utilize that strength. So I think that has been good. It has been signed upon.
Okay, just so we understand, is this the long distance route between Durban and Joburg?
That's correct. Yes.
Okay. Is this an agreement in writing, or is it a gentleman's agreement that everybody will behave?
No, it's a signed deal. It's in writing now. There is. Remember, there was a court matter as well. So the verdict from the court directed that we also have to do something in black and white. It's known now, and it's been signed by all the stakeholders or those who are involved.
Okay, wait, you're sure, MEC, that everybody and all the owners and all the drivers and everybody will respect this agreement?
Usually, after such a fight, they do. I think you just have to understand that there's been some conflict like that in another district, Tugela, Lady Smith area, the long distance. I think from time to time they were fighting, and when they reach the consensus, it usually is that they follow. So it has been something like that as well in Ugu district, Market, Kamalake, whenever we reach a consensus, they usually adhere to those. I think they are going to do the same here because they understand what's at stake. If you understand the deeper details, John, that when you have someone with a permit but who's not allowed to utilize that route, it means that they're not going to do profit. At the end of the month, they might not even afford to pay for the premium. So I think it is always critical that when they agree with such consensus, they know it will be easier even for them to feed their families. So the protection of the route is something that is always appreciated by the department in particular.
Four sticking points that have been agreed to now. Members who elect to not operate on these long-distance routes are at liberty to stick to local routes. So what was the sticking point there? What was the thinking behind that?
You'll understand that you'll find that when the time comes that they reach a consensus, you'll find that John's taxi is not strong enough because it will take a very strong, the issue of roadworthy, that probably if your taxi will always require service, it doesn't make sense that you go from Durban or Pongolo to Johannesburg. It must be in a good condition. So that is why there is that unfortunate situation that you might find that when you reach the consensus, probably your taxes are not strong. But at the right time, when you feel strong again, you might come back. Or when the taxi groups also agree that, okay, now is the right time that my taxis can do the route, they will still going to be given that opportunity. That flexibility was that to accommodate just in case you're not fit for now, but later on you're okay. So it was for that purpose.
What implications will there be if somebody breaks this agreement? For example, one vehicle to operate the long distance routes. If somebody brings two along, what happens?
No, the implication, remember that there is Sogomel as well. Okay, so how we work, there is Santaco in the province that also does the oversight. Then you have the municipality, then you have the province, which is the Department of Transport in a form of Chanel and a form of RTI. As soon as they agree, it means that we must enhance the scope of ensuring that we always do that oversight. So I think if you do what is not required, something ought to be done at a level of law enforcement, and we are going to assist them when it comes to those issues.
This is one major route. Do you see this expanding and making sure the taxi violence and other issues in the taxi industry are resolved using the same system?
We started already at Uku district. I don't know whether you are aware that there was a road blockade at Reinkonyen municipality. Probably before the end of this month, we'll have huge taxi in Bizo, where we invite all the stakeholders, because the issue of the permits in the province of KwaZulu-Natal have been causing problems. The issue of bully tactics from those who want to monopolize the routes is something that has been going on for quite some time. So just to understand and issue a directive so that everyone must follow that process, it's something that will take us that we meet, discuss, reach a consensus as a team, and if there is a need, we also sign a deal and an agreement. So that's how we are going to follow this process, and that's how we are going to get whether there is a traction. But fortunately, I was saying that usually when they've agreed, the problem will vanish, but in some instances, not permanent. It's from time to time might appear, which is why there is a need for oversight.
And MEC, while I've got you, I was in KwaZulu-Natal recently. All those roadworks happening on the N3, and Rob Byrne keeps telling us about issues on those highways and things. How's that construction project? Is it on time and on budget?
Very true. So far, I think they are on time, and so far they've done a great job. The reality is that both N2 and M3 is under construction. KwaZulu-Natal is a construction site as we speak, because we've got a lot of provincial roads that are being built by the Department of Transport at the same time, because we want to develop even the corridors for economic outlook and for the economic development of the province. So I think we are fine with this entry. At the end, it is going to assist us. As you know, that almost majority of goods from Durban Harbour and Richards Bay Port are being utilized. So it has been contributing even on the issue of the issue of employment. We've managed 250,000 after Limpopo, then Northwest, so we were number 2. It means that these roads are already assisting.
MEC, if you don't mind, I just want to take a call from Ephraim. He's just given us a call about e-hailing in KwaZulu-Natal. Let's see. Ephraim, what do you have to say to the MEC?
Yeah, morning, how are you? I want to ask the MEC when he's talking about those unlicensed what permits and cars, those are operating there and it's going in peace. I'm concerned our colleagues there, they are suffering attacks from the tax those associations that are there. What are they doing as a department regarding those attacks of e-hailing? Now the bill has been signed. What are they doing? The measures they do as a law, using the law enforcement to make sure that no one is being terrorized, they've been harassed, they've been doing all those things that we see on the videos.
All
and
right.
He mustn't come and argue negatively. He must be positive of the standpoint, because we have our colleagues that we communicated from all around South Africa provinces regarding the e-hailing, what is happening. So you must take the stance.
All
if
right.
we don't,
Let's find out, Ephraim. Ephraim in KwaZulu-Natal. MEC, e-hailing attacks?
He's raising 2 major points, but there's a contract saying that unlicensed taxi, we don't operate in that, which is why I spoke about the Chanela. If your
Right.
if your taxi is not roadworthy, it can't operate. On the issue of e-hailing, I'm sure you know that it has been signed into law. We are still on the phases where we want to expand the scope, that they must work as a joint team. Even at the level of Imbizo, they will be part and parcel because they're a critical stakeholder. I highlighted 70% committing using taxis. The rest, buses, trains, and all those, and even on the issue of the e-hailing. So it's something that we have said that government must create an enabling environment. We have to protect them whenever there is a need. We invite them into our strategic meeting. But one thing that must be critical is that SANTAP has agreed in principle that in this area, when there is an Uber need, they must be well known who are operating, because I'm sure you know that there's been a lot of incidents in the province of KwaZulu-Natal. You request an Uber, you suddenly vanish. So it must be well known, the issue of traceability and all those things. So I think we are at that level at this point in time, and we are working together as the joint team.
Sibunusa Duma is the MEC for Transport in KwaZulu-Natal. Let's see what's happening on the roads.
SAfm. Guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Yeah, just following that conversation, it might be a good idea just to remind you, as part of the N2 and N3 upgrades around Durban, there will be a closure this weekend. And keep in mind, it's going to be busy traffic conditions because it's a long weekend. And Durban, Etequini is such a popular destination for long weekends, so a lot of extra traffic. And then you'll have overnight closures between Mgena Road and Spaghetti Junction, Saturday night from 8 p.m. right through until 4 a.m. Sunday going northbound, and then the southbound on Sunday, 8 p.m. until 4 a.m. on Monday. So it will be disruptive, all part of the upgrades that are going on there. But just be aware of that, the need to divert Mgena Road Spaghetti Junction across this coming weekend. Might as well stay in Durban. Crash scenes, N2 southbound before the M7, so south of Spaghetti Junction, you'll hit a queue, and northbound a crash between Higginson Highway and the M7, so delays coming up from the Chatsworth side. Joburg, the N12 at R24 Ridge, backed up from the Ekurhuleni region into a crash blocking the middle lane at Galuli's interchange. And a reminder about the very heavy mist out around Emelafeni this morning. We do have a collision on the N12. It happens regularly when you can't see where you're going on that section of roadway, just east of Ockies on the way to and from Emelafeni. So the N12 with the mist and that collision is standing still. Local routes in the area very heavily misted this morning. Cape Town, the M5 is fairly heavy. That's a good indication of how much traffic there is around town. Ottery right through to Maitland is busy, and to inbound under pressure from the airport through to Mowbray Main and Hospital Bend. Rob Byrne, SAfm Traffic.
Paying your TV license means that you can tune in to the Expresso Morning Show from 6 to 9 a.m. Mondays to Fridays right here on S3. Enjoy our entertainment, recipes, and important current affairs and updates. All of this for less than 74 cents a day or 265 Rand for an entire year. For super-fast, secure, and convenient payment from any device, go onto tvlrc.co.za and click on the Fast Pay button for payment in under 3 minutes. Make a difference with Expresso and TV licenses and pay yours.
So why should I use We Buy Cars if I want to sell my vehicle?
Because We Buy Cars buys cars.
But will I get the right price?
Of course. We Buy Cars buys thousands of vehicles and knows exactly what every vehicle is worth. Their buyers deliver exceptional service and pay you immediately.
And how do I know what they'll pay for my vehicle?
It's easy. Visit webuycars.co.za or use the We Buy Cars app. Follow the simple steps and voila, you'll know your car's value in no time. We Buy Cars. Quick, easy, the best.
The world's best cooking show is finally here. MasterChef South Africa Season 5. You'll meet 20 talented home cooks from around Mzansi, Noma or Pumabi, and no matter your favorite dish, see if the chefs can handle the heat in the kitchen in a race to be crowned MasterChef South Africa. Every Saturday, 7:30 p.m. only on S3 Channel 193. MasterChef South Africa, the world's best cooking show, proudly sponsored by Pick n Pay.
Getting ahead of the morning with hashtag SAfm Breakfast.
4 minutes to 7. What is going on with the Yixke River at the moment? Apparently there's a significant health concern. Annette Depes, the City of Johannesburg's councillor in Ward 132. Annette, good morning to you. Thanks for joining us. What is happening with the Yixke River?
Morning, John. Thanks for taking this call. I got a call on Thursday last week from the management company to tell me that they've been taking 30 to 40 dead fish out of the river every day. And also in their dams, they've been finding dead fish. And they told me that the water was very black and dirty. And immediately I got onto it, and I said to them, I'll contact the Environmental Health Department, and I said to them they must report it to the Green Scorpions as well. And then I put this press release together, which was sent out, and warned the residents please not to touch the river, because we do know that the river is dirty in any case, and the E. coli levels are very high.
I want to find out where the river runs. It starts up in Melville Koppies, that kind of area, and then goes through most of Johannesburg, really. Yeah.
It comes all the way from Bruma.
Right. That side. Okay.
Then it runs kind of on the left side of Joburg, kind of my left. And it runs through Buccleuch, through Alex, through Buccleuch, those areas, and then come through Waterfall and kind of go through Lucal Prison, Chartwell, all the way through to Hartbeespoort.
Okay, so by the time it's getting to you in Waterfall, it's already this dangerous.
It's already dirty, yeah.
Okay, people use that river for traditional ceremonies. People use it for cleaning and other things as well. It's a hazard for them?
Well, look, I don't know what happens upstream because I'm not the councillor there. But in Waterfall, we have people that walk on their water ways. They've got kind of walkways, right, which the residents enjoy. And the children ride their bicycles there. They go over the bridges on the Yixke. They've got a few bridges that go over the river in the Waterfall area. And, it's an environmental hazard. Friday night, I got to tell you, I drove past on the R55. We went to dinner at Waterfall Corner. The smell of that river, I could smell it all the way up to Waterfall Corner.
Do we know where this pollution is coming from?
Well, I've had a report from a resident to tell me that he rides his bicycle on the River Reen area, and he tells me that they're doing some work in Buccleuch to mitigate the water system there. And he says that it looks like they've hit a sewer line on that work that they're doing. And he thinks that sewer line is what's caused the recent problem.
It's obviously the dry season, so we're not having massive amounts of water and rainwater to clear it out. So it's just adding to the problem.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so your suggestion, stay away from the water. Are tests being done to make sure that it's clean and safe at some point?
Well, I've asked the city to organise a meeting for me so that I could go out there and go and have a look. And I sent them a message on Saturday, and they acknowledged my message from the department, but I've had no response from them since then.
Got to leave it there. Nat Depper, thank you very much. Ward Councillor for the City of Johannesburg's Ward 132. What's your experience of the XK? I know, where is it? Just north of Fourways. The XK River is used by people over the weekend, often. Is it? Do you get sick from it? Let us know. I'd love to get the details of what's happening with that river. 7 o'clock, you're with SAfm.
Outsurance will go out of their way to try and save you money on your car insurance. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. SMS out to 30754. Now that's good news.
In our top stories, 8 robbery suspects killed in a shootout with police, and ANC set to focus on economic growth. Good morning. Police have shot dead 8 alleged cash-in-transit robbers and arrested 5 in town 2 in Khayelitsha on the Cape Flats. Police spokesperson Novela Putelwa says a multidisciplinary team of priority crime investigation members, the Special Task Force and intelligence operatives followed up on information about a possible cash-in-transit robbery.
When a police multidisciplinary team, following up on intelligence, approached the suspects and they fired at the police who retaliated. After the shootout, police confiscated an assortment of firearms comprising 7 AK-47 rifles, 2 R5 rifles, an R4 rifle, 2 pistols, as well as an assortment of rounds of ammunition.
Former President Jacob Zuma is today expected to make an appearance in his capacity as private prosecutor in the High Court in Johannesburg. Zuma has to appear to ensure that his matter stays on the court roll in the private prosecution case against his successor, President Cyril Ramaphosa. Zuma is accusing Ramaphosa of being an accessory after the fact, after he lodged a complaint to Ramaphosa alleging that prosecutor Billy Downer leaked his medical records during his corruption trial in the KwaZulu-Natal division of the High Court in Pietermaritzburg in contravention of the National Prosecuting Authority Act. Zoleka Kodashe reports.
Former President Jacob Zuma will seek to keep his private prosecution case on the roll when he goes to the criminal court this morning in what is expected to be another brief appearance. This in a series of legal attempts to privately prosecute the president. Ramaphosa last year successfully sought the court's intervention to review and set aside the bid by his predecessor, a move Zuma sought to appeal before the full bench of the High Court and lost. The former president then petitioned the Supreme Court of Appeal, but the appellate court dismissed it. Zuma has since asked the appeals court to reconsider.
The ANC says the failure to get the economy working for all South Africans has the potential to undermine the credibility of the democratic order. The party's top brass from the NEC, members deployed in government and alliance partners, have been meeting in the NEC Lekgotla in Boksburg, east of Johannesburg. They are discussing the program of government for the next year. Speaking to the media on the second day of the ANC NEC Lekgotla, the party spokesperson Zuko Godlimpi says an economy that is not inclusive could lead to further voter apathy and cause people to lose interest in the country's democratic project.
The loudest message coming out of the election is that we've got to get South Africa's economy working. If we don't get it working, the credibility of the entire democratic order is at stake. And this is reflected, of course, by the fact that the eligible people who should be voting, some of whom who don't even register, but some do register and don't show up at the polls. So the concern is that if you don't fix the national economy and get it to work in a way that is inclusive, you are having a sort of a systematic pullback by a large cohort of South African citizens from the democratic process.
The Gauteng Department of Education has condemned a concerning incident that took place at the Matsidiso Primary School in Katlehong, east of Johannesburg, where 3 men violently threatened teachers and learners. In a series of videos that have gone viral on social media, 3 men are seen threatening to attack teachers on the school premises. It's believed 2 learners were caught in the crossfire. Gauteng Education spokesperson Steve Mabona.
A well-known South African pastor is seen wielding pangas and threatening to attack teachers at the school premises. Another man is seen grabbing two learners who were caught in the crossfire of this violent ordeal. Another is wielding an assault rifle. According to a preliminary report, the conflict between the two families over the custody of the boy learners, which are enrolled at the said school, that is a grade RR and a grade 2, has been escalating.
Justice and Constitutional Development Minister Thembi Simelane has called for the full prosecution of those who target elderly people. This follows a recent case of a 101-year-old woman from Zaaiplaas in Limpopo who was allegedly raped by a 27-year-old man. Simelane says the nation should unite and show compassion towards the vulnerable as part of a collective effort to prevent gender-based violence. Ministerial spokesperson Tsekiso Machika.
Minister Simelane has further expressed her deepest dismay and stating that this horrific crime is a stark indictment of our society, particularly during Women's Month, a time dedicated to honoring and celebrating women of our nation. The suffering inflicted upon this respected member of our community is both reprehensible and heartbreaking.
And finally, the United Nations has sacked 9 members of its refugee agency in Gaza after it found that they may have been involved in the October 7th attacks on Israel last year. The UN's announcement follows an internal investigation into 19 employees of its aid agency in Gaza, known as UNRWA, after Israel accused them of involvement in the Hamas-led assault. Recapping the top story, police have shot dead 8 alleged cash-in-transit robbers and arrested 5 in Town 2 in Kailicha on the Cape Flats. For SAfm News, I am Anne Musa.
Those were the top stories for this hour. Don't miss out on a possible car insurance saving. SMS out to 30754 for a quote. Outsurance, where you always get something out.
Your insurer makes many promises, but can they back it up? Outsurance can. That's why they're the best insurance company in South Africa. Outsurance has consistently had the best ombudsman for short-term insurance results for the past 11 years and awarded best short-term insurer by News24 for the past 2 years. Why would you want to be with anyone else? SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754. Or visit outsurance.co.za for a 10-minute quote and you could save thousands. A licensed insurer and FSP, T's and information online.
SAfm, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Still very heavy mist and very heavy, foggy conditions around Emelafeni this morning. Everything out that side, just south of Emelafeni, to and from the mines going slow, including a big crash on the N12, as often happens with visibility problems on that section between Ochis and Emelafeni. N4 looks a good option if you need to go through that region and avoid the crash and avoid the poor visibility. It really is sort of south of the N4 where it all gets a bit heavy. N12 and R24 routes into Galulis from Ekurhuleni battling along this morning. Crash blocking the middle lane before you get to the interchange. In Durban, a couple of crashes on the N2 around the M7, both ways basically sorted out. That traffic is starting to move where it was jammed heavily before. The N2 North, very slow getting up through Spaghetti Junction into the work zone. And Cape Town traffic today, pretty busy on the highways. The N7 from Vangate Mall, queues all the way through to 4 Trekker Road in Goodwood. And there's big traffic on the M5 this morning, Ottery right through to Maitland's Buckley Road off-ramp. Rob Byrne, SAfm Traffic.
Getting ahead of the morning with hashtag SAfm Breakfast.
Is there sport?
Is there sport?
Is there sport?
Woo! Yes, let's go. Team South Africa's Prudence Sekgodiso finishing 8th at the Olympic 800-meter final, while South Africa's Wade van Niekerk and Sean Maswanganyi advancing to the Olympic 200-meter semi-finals. We'll bring you details at around 7:30.
John Gerika on SAfm.
Into the second hour we go. It's SAfm Breakfast. Good morning to you. Coming up, we're going to talk about the ANC Lekgotla that's currently happening. They've attributed their decline to a couple of things. One of them is the support to tribalism and the emergence of the MK party. The other is the fail of the governance in metros like Joburg, eThekwini and Buffalo City as well. That's according to the president. And then we're going to hear from Kgosi Larmek Mokoena, who's the president of the Congress of Traditional Leaders of South Africa. He's concerned about the claims made by the ANC on traditional rulers. And then this ongoing story that we're having in South Africa, human trafficking becoming increasingly prevalent in South Africa. We're going to find out why with a criminologist and national coordinator for missing children in South Africa. That's the next half hour.
Paying your TV license means that you can tune in to the Expresso Morning Show from 6 to 9 a.m. Mondays to Fridays right here on S3. Enjoy our entertainment, recipes, and important current affairs and updates. All of this for less than 74 cents a day or 265 Rand for an entire year. For superfast, secure, and convenient payment from any device, go onto tvlrc.co.za and click on the Fast Pay button for payment in under 3 minutes. Make a difference with Expresso and TV licenses and pay yours.
So Sharon at office was telling me the way drip is so expensive these days. She's now waiting for her old clothes to come back into fashion. I say, Joza, while you're waiting, why not let your money do the things in a Nedbank Just Invest account where you can get your money after 24 hours notice? Oganchani voiceman.
In Jalo Mabel, you can earn up to 8.75% interest. Anyone can open an investment account via the Money app in under 2 minutes. See money differently. Nedbank. We're a licensed FSP and registered credit provider. Promo rates apply.
Babina Noko returns to the battlefield with a great strategy to display a melody of victory. But the citizens are shaking their heads. Eric Tinkler's boys are confident that they will land successfully in the last four. This is the MTN8 quarterfinal. Wafa Wafa. Catch Sekhukhune United FC and Cape Town City FC on Saturday, 10 August at 2:30 p.m. Live on SABC1 and SABC radio stations. Also available on SABC Plus and SABCSport.com. Hashtag We Love It Here. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
SAfm 104 to 107 nationwide.
The ANC's attributed, well, it's had a 3-day Lekgotla to try and work out why it lost support in the latest election. A couple of things. Tribalism, it says, the emergence of the MK party, also the failure of governance in metros like Johannesburg, eThekwini and Buffalo City. Nkosi Kulule Nyambezi is a political analyst and also a policy analyst as well, and be able to help us with what they've been deciding at this Lekgotla. Good morning to you. A number of reasons that they've raised have the ANC for their political loss. They lost in the elections. What would you say would be the reason they lost votes at the last election?
Oh, thank you very much. Yeah, it looks like it's a number of reasons that were applicable in different spheres, at some municipalities, at some provinces, but also some nationwide problems. And I think they were good in diagnosing what could have gone wrong. Is the issue with South Africans is like, I mean, if the ANC diagnose in this way, and so what? Because the ANC as a governing party, a former liberation movement, is supposed to be diagnosing and acting not in response to its failures, but in anticipation of its failures as an incumbent. So the fact that they are behind the curve says something about the factionalism in the party and about their willingness to prioritize the citizens over and above their narrow political interests.
Nkosi Kulule, I've not heard at all, and maybe I'm just reading the wrong things, service delivery and the SOEs, the things that when we open the lines, people moan about all the time. Have they been introspective enough?
I don't think enough, and especially because it's not just about words and analysis. It's about action and action. When you hear that ANC officials, ANC deployees, have been actively responsible in sabotaging the delivery of services to the people, that's disgusting. So you'll find that the people in KwaZulu-Natal, eThekwini, the water problems they have, it's as a result of ANC shenanigans wanting to claim factional power over another faction. When you see the issue of the beaches in the East Coast, that sewage is spilling there and there is no servicing, it's an internal sabotage. It doesn't surprise many because you will remember that former President Mbeki was deployed in KwaZulu-Natal to campaign for the ANC belatedly, but he couldn't finish his rounds because we hear that he overheard people saying, oh, people of Inanda, oh, people of this area, they vote for the ANC anyway. Even if we don't deliver the services, they will vote for the ANC anyway. And it's like, what kind of ANC is this? So all I'm saying is that these issues have been there for a long time, and the ANC has failed to respond to them. And so in this report that now says, why did we lose the electoral vote? It doesn't come as anything new. And in fact, even in their discussion, they are not coming with anything to say, this is how we're going to address this drastically. So it's still a disappointment for the South African public.
The president's saying it's not time to be bitter, time to feel defeated. It's time to be better and do better. Have they written down in black and white how they're going to do that?
Be better and feel better. They must act on that. Particularly, I mean, there are some signs of hesitation to act in that way. We still see some people who are implicated in corruption being sworn in Parliament. Some people who are implicated in corruption remain as ANC councillors. And so how are you going to be better and act better? So we need to see bold action. The fact that the alliance of the ANC still doesn't sing from the same hymn sheet is a complication, because it is alliance that is also supposed to have taken the decision to form the government of national unity, to influence how things are going to be in the government of national unity. So, but the factionalism is so deep-seated that they still don't sing from the same hymn. We will hope to see that as the ANC moves to its National General Council, then they will produce substantive papers and positions that bring the party together, that bring the nation together, and move away from narrow political interests. For example, the ANC president and the GNU, they have called for a national dialogue. And I think that is where all of this discussion becomes relevant, because South Africans must participate in the national dialogue outside of the political interests. What is it that the ANC is going to bring there? I think we should take notes from that, and then as civil society, as ordinary citizens, make that contribution in the national dialogue as a way of charting the way forward.
Policy and political analyst Nkosi Kulule Nyambezi, thank you very much.
Catch the Tastemaster Junior this Tuesday evening at 7 on SABC2. It's the first elimination challenge, and to stay in the competition, the bottom 6 contestants must channel their inner Italian by baking a delicious handmade pizza using leftovers from the fridge. Who will survive to bake another day? Find out on the Tastemaster Junior. Tuesdays at 7, repeat Wednesdays at 1, and Sundays at 4 p.m. Only on SABC2.
Witness the global battle of great athletes from South Africa and from all over the world in the Olympic Games Paris 2024. From the heart-pounding races on the track to the graceful routines on the gymnastics floor, each event promises to deliver moments of sheer brilliance and sporting excellence. Live the intense rivalries, inspiring comebacks, and record-breaking performances right here across all SABC TV channels, SABC radio stations, on the move with SABC Plus, or online on sabcsport.com. Hashtag the global battle of great athletes. The Olympic Games Paris 2024. Brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
You are listening to SAfm Breakfast.
It's 19 minutes past 7. The Congress of Traditional Leaders of South Africa concerned about claims made by the ANC on traditional rulers. Kgosi Lamek Mokoena is the president of the Congress of Traditional Leaders of South Africa. Kgosi, thank you very much for joining us. Good morning. What's the issue? Give us some background here.
Morning, John, and morning to our listeners.
Indeed, the spokesperson of the ANC took all of us by surprise, especially our kings in this country. When addressing the media, he said this country and the ANC will not allow this country to be ruled by some unelected kings. That to us was an insult, and even went further to say he is saying this because the ANC is a Republican party. But there are new developments, John, because last night I received a call from the very same spokesperson who apologized and promised to retract what he said. Because our kings called me to say, President Mokoena, if we allow this to continue, we'll continue to be insulted by our own citizens in this country. Hence, we're so shocked, John, I must say, that someone who understands and know the history of this ANC, where it came from and who formed it and so on. It was so shocking that someone will say our kings are not expected to play any role, or even to suggest that this country is not ready yet to be ruled by a king. Now, what if this king is a member of this political party and he is good and they feel that he must rule? So it means now he is not going to take any senior position. Hence, we're so shocked, John, I must say.
So you've got the apology. They're going to retract. Is everything back to normal as it was 6 weeks ago?
Not yet, because our kings still want answers as to whether the spokesperson was telling us his own views or he was directed by the ANC to say this. Because in fact, he confirmed our suspicion all along that we said, no, man, the ANC has been infiltrated by some Republicans. You know, Republicans, they hate traditional leaders with passion, John. So when he said that to us, it left a very bitter taste. And we just hope, because we even agreed that we should have a meeting to iron this out, because our kings are not happy. And unfortunately for him, when he said this, we're in the same place in Northwest, all our kings in the country were there, some traditional leaders were there in an event where we invited all of us. And when this was said, really, they all came to me and said, Khoshi, what is this? And really, I couldn't take it as well. But I'm happy that the young man, Shame, I think he saw that he made a mistake. Hence, he came back to me, and we're prepared to sit down with him and the ANC leadership to iron out this thing, because really, we don't want to even issue some statement where we even felt we were not surprised why people are moving away from the ANC because of some of this reckless and careless statement issued by some of the leaders here. But we hope we'll get some peace into what was said.
Khosi Mokoena, President of Contralesa. Thanks very much.
Keeping you informed and ready for the day ahead on #SAfm Breakfast.
22 minutes past 7. Human trafficking, increasingly prevalent in South Africa. You saw at the weekend, approximately 90 Ethiopian nationals were saved from a human trafficking ring in Johannesburg. Bianca van Asvegen is a criminologist and national coordinator for missing children in South Africa. Bianca, good morning to you. How much of a problem is human trafficking in South Africa?
In cases of trafficking in persons, especially after lockdown and COVID, there's so many vulnerability factors that come into play, and COVID and lockdown really caused those vulnerability factors, where people have lost their jobs, the economical crisis that we found ourselves in, and those have really caused that this escalation has happened.
Can we blame porous borders for this?
Well, there's a lot of factors to actually blame within trafficking in persons. Yes, our borders are definitely a problem and need to be looked at. A lot of these people are coming in on the sides of the borders to our rivers, places like that. So our border patrol is one of the places that really needs to be looked at.
What are the other factors?
We've also got smuggling happening to our harbors, for instance, and also, unfortunately, our own South Africans are being used as trafficking victims in South Africa that don't even cross borders. So that is also one of the problems that we are facing.
Kidnappings, is it all related? In other words, are individuals being brought into South Africa and being held against their will, but there are also kidnappings happening locally?
Yes, we need to understand that kidnappings and human trafficking is two different definitions.
Right.
So kidnappings happen for various reasons. We've got opportunistic kidnappings, we've got traditional medicine types of kidnappings that are happening, and one of the kidnappings that is quite prevalent at the moment is ransom demand kidnapping. So they take a person and they demand an amount of money. Where human trafficking is the recruitment, the transportation, transfer, harboring, or receipt of a person through force, fraud, or deception with the aim of exploiting them for profit. So with trafficking in persons, the person is the commodity being sold to be used for sexual exploitation, forced labor, any of those reasons.
This is what I'm wondering about. 90 Ethiopian nationals from a human trafficking ring. Do we know why they were here or what the plan was?
This is an ongoing investigation at the moment, but we also look at human smuggling where people from Ethiopia, Kenya, Malawi, all of those countries are looking for a better life. So they get promised to be taken to South Africa or brought to South Africa for a better life. So some of them actually do consent to being brought here to South Africa. Some of them actually are forced and coerced to be brought to South Africa for a different reason. So unfortunately, this is an ongoing investigation to find out whether they have been trafficked or have they been brought here through their own will by trafficking or with smuggling.
I saw a headline, Bianca, that South Africa is the human trafficking capital of the world. Is that fair?
Well, we have been declared as a Tier 2 by the U.S. Department of State, but this is not just a South African problem. Yes, it's escalated tremendously in our country, but it's a global problem because, unfortunately, if the demand is there, trafficking in persons will never stop.
All right, Bianca van Aswegen, thank you very much, criminologist and national coordinator for missing children South Africa. We're going to continue with this story. We're going to unpack the growing safety issues in South Africa, and not just foreign nationals, as we heard, but South Africans as well. We're going to talk to the manager of the Crime and Justice Information Hub at the Institute for Security Studies. We're going to do that in the next half hour or so. Time for some voice notes. Zalma, let's see what's coming up on the voice notes. 0614 104 107.
Morning. I'm just wondering if the ANC reflected or even acknowledged the corruption that they're not dealing with within the ANC. They can blame everyone else and anything else. But what about the corruption? They're not dealing with that decisively. And we must remember they're no longer the governing party, so we shouldn't even call them the governing party. And they're definitely not the leader of society, because there's just too much corruption and unlawful things going on within the ANC. So they cannot be leading me, unfortunately, or fortunately for me. Teresa, Cape Town.
Hi, good morning, John. Warren from Cape Town. I'm listening to this guy talking about kings and traditional healers. In today's age, what do they do except getting money from government and spending it on themselves? There's nothing that they do in the communities to uplift the people. There's nothing that they do to uplift the country other than enriching themselves and enriching their family. So the money that gets allocated to them can get allocated to other people or other departments. Like, say, for instance, fixing the pit toilets in the Eastern Cape. These kings in the Eastern Cape that get the grants and stuff, what do they do with that money? There's nothing that they do. Thank you.
Good morning, John and listeners. Kgoshi Mokoena, he should stop being a politician and start doing his job as a king. We residents of rural areas, we don't see his importance there on that position. He's always entertaining politics, criticizing ANC. He must go join EFF and MK if he wants to.
Good morning, SAfm. Yes, around the issue of the Lekgotla of the ANC, I don't think that them focusing only on the metros will assist. I mean, if you check in the rural areas how my organization, the ANC, performed, it is not good. So the service delivery must come to the rural areas. because of those people are the one who have actually been chowed by the EFF. Duelo in Kimberley.
We'll take more voice notes throughout the show. Take your calls as well. 086 000 2032. We got a good news final hour, I feel. We're going to give away that 8,800 Rand. There's still a chance for you to enter. All you have to do is SMS SAfm 88. Start that again. SMS SAfm 88 followed by your name to 41391. It's going to cost you R1.50. No free SMSs apply. We're going to be giving a random person a call, and you have to answer with SAfm 88 in order to win 8,800 bucks. We're going to be doing that after the news at 8 o'clock. Say that again. Right. So what you first have to do is SMS SAfm 88 followed by your name to 41391. Then when you get the call at some time after the news at 8 o'clock, you have to answer the phone with SAfm 88 and you could win 8,800 Rand. One of 10 people that could win 8,800 Rand. We're giving away 88,000 bucks in cash as SAfm's 88th birthday. Because our birthday, we're giving away presents. Why not? Coming up, traffic, sport and business. Now, news headlines at 7:30.
Good morning. In the headlines, police have shot dead 8 alleged cash-in-transit robbers and arrested 5 in Town 2 in Kailicha on the Cape Flats. Former President Jacob Zuma is today expected to make an appearance in his capacity as private prosecutor in the High Court in Johannesburg. Zuma has to appear to ensure that his matter stays on the court roll in the private prosecution case against his successor, President Cyril Ramaphosa. And the Army Chief in Bangladesh is to meet student protest leaders shortly as the country prepares to form a new government a day after the Prime Minister resigned and fled the country. I'll have details on these and other stories at 8.
SAfm, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Very good morning. Conditions out in Mpumalanga's Emalakeni area seem to be starting to ease in terms of traffic delays, which gives you an idea, or gives me an idea, that the mist and fog that really hampered proceedings earlier is starting to sort of ease and lift a bit. There's nowhere near the sort of congestion that we had earlier this morning. There is a crash before Ockies on the N12 in that mist between Emalakeni and Ockies on your way through to Joburg, so that run through stays heavy, but there is mist in the area, so drive carefully. N12 and R24 routes in from the East Rand side, under pressure into a crash just before you get to Galuli's interchange. No lights this morning in Midrand, Olifantsfontein at Lever, so factoring queue time there. That's a busy junction. And into Pretoria this morning, going to be asked to sit in some heavy traffic on the N4 between Watermeyer Street and the N1 highway. Durban, the M13 arriving to Kloof towards Fields Hill, very slow coming through from Gillett side, although it is starting to improve. A breakdown on the Southern Freeway inbound by Victoria Esplanade. That's pushing the usual queue back through Umbilo and Congela, right back into sort of Jacobs and Clarewood territory. So M4 coming up into Durban is heavy this morning. And Cape Town, there's been a crash involving a bus on Jake's Curvell Drive near Trekker Road, just by the railway bridge. So very heavy pressure from Langa up through Epping in towards Goodwood. The southbound side down towards the casino being held up as well. And a little incident on the N1 inbound just by Sable Road, keeping conditions busy from Plattercliff Hill. Also, the exits out of Tableview very slow this morning. Marine Drive all the way to Sunset Beach, and Bloberg Road is heavy heading out towards Kuberg Road. Rob Byrne, SAfm Traffic.
This is SAfm Sport with Zai Khan.
Morning, Zai. I know you're going to talk 800 meters, but we're watching highlights of what I'm calling battle paddles.
Battle paddles, or as the IOC calls it, the kayak slalom.
No. They have weapons and they're hitting each other. It's battle paddles. What happened on the track?
All right. So we may have finished, in 8th place. That's Prudence Sekgodiso in the 800 meter finals. But you know what? It's her first Olympics. She's got the heart of a champion, and I know she's going to come back stronger next time. It was Great Britain's Keely Hodgkinson who won the 800 meters in 1 minute 56.72 seconds, while South Africa's Prudence Sekgodiso finished in 1 minute 58.79 seconds. The 22-year-old South African is in her first major final, ran in the top 4, but waned notably in the final 50 meters as the rest of the 8-runner field passed her by. A big blow for sprinter Benjamin Richardson, pulling out with a hamstring injury during his 200-meter heat. casting doubt in his participation for Team South Africa's 4x100-meter relay. Despite this, Sean Maswanganyi and Wade van Niekerk kept medal hopes alive, progressing to the 200-meter semi-finals. Van Niekerk finishing third in his heat with a time of 20.42 seconds, while Maswanganyi also finished third place with 20.20 seconds. Here's Sean Maswanganyi.
Just happy to qualify nicely. Biggest thing is you don't want to run too many races. Thank God I made it through for the semi-final. I don't have to run the Reaper-Charged round. But overall, I'm pretty satisfied. I know it could be a little bit better off the turn. That will make my straight a lot easier. But 20.2 is one of my fastest times. And that was a horribly executed race. So I know there's more to work on.
In the meantime, Armand Duplantis broke his own pole vault record at the Paris Olympics, clearing 6.25 meters, capturing a second successive gold medal on sport's biggest stage. It marked the 9th time the Louisiana-born 24-year-old competed for his mother's native Sweden, has broken the world record, but the first time he has achieved the feat at the Summer Games. America's Sam Kendricks, who missed the Tokyo Olympics with COVID, added a silver medal to his bronze from Rio, while Emmanuel Karalis of Greece completed the podium place. Here's Mando Duplantis.
Jumped the world record. I mean, you have to be pretty much perfect, and the rhythm on the run has to be right there. And so on the last one, we just tried to get all the details right. I moved the standards to 62, by the way. It just felt right in the moment. Honestly, tried to be as free as I possibly could, too.
And finally, soccer. Jean-Philippe Mateta scored 2 goals as France came from behind, beating Egypt 3-1 in the semi-finals of the men's football. The Olympic Games hosts advanced to Friday's gold medal match against Spain. Spain beat Morocco 2-1 earlier in the day. That's a wrap. More sport, top of the hour. I'm Zai Khan.
The Business Update on SAfm.
Morning again to Ntaoleng Lechela, business reporter. Food prices, Ntaoleng. How much more are we paying every month for our food?
Listen, there is some good news.
Yeah?
World food prices eased in July, and this, of course, is a welcome relief for consumers across the globe and is also according to the United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization's price index. Now, in July, prices eased slightly, with the index sitting at 120.8 points from 121 in June. So not much of a difference.
Mm-hmm.
Cereal prices fell, with the sub-index declining 3.8% to its lowest level in nearly 4 years, and global export prices for all major cereals fell for the second consecutive month. Other notable declines were in wheat prices. This was due to the seasonal increase in supply from ongoing winter wheat harvests in the Northern Hemisphere, as well as favorable weather conditions boosting spring wheat crops in Canada and the US. Maize export prices also dropped as Argentina and Brazil's harvest surged ahead of last year's schedule, partly leading to an increase in global supply. Now, this has offset price increases in meat, sugar, and vegetable oils. Before July, the food price index had increased for 4 months straight, rebounding from a 3-year low in February. This rise followed a decline from the all-time high reached in March 2022, which was triggered by Russia's invasion of Ukraine, which is Ukraine, being a significant player in the global crop exports.
And what is the Magnificent Seven?
Now, the Magnificent Seven are the US's most valuable tech stocks, including Apple, Microsoft, Google's parent company, Alphabet, Amazon, Nvidia, Facebook's parent company, Meta, platforms, as well as Tesla. Now, all 7 companies were battered in the latest sell-off that was initially sparked by US recession fears after that jobs report came in under expectations. This saw the tech-heavy NASDAQ fall deeper into correction territory. The index first hit this level last week when it shed over 10%. Now, the tech industry experienced a significant market fluctuation, with Nvidia losing over $300 billion in market capitalization at the opening bell yesterday. Apple and Amazon also saw substantial declines, with their valuations dropping by $224 billion and $109 billion respectively. Additionally, Meta, Microsoft, Alphabet, and Tesla experienced notable losses, resulting in a $995 billion decrease in trillion dollar decrease in market value for the 7 most valuable tech companies at the start of yesterday's trade. Now, despite this, some of those losses were retraced as the trading day progressed, and with markets poised to recover today, we could possibly see an improved performance from the tech sector in the US.
Yeah, I saw a thing on Twitter or something to say billionaires lose billions and still remain billionaires. Yeah, it's a difficult life at the top there.
Really not in the greater scheme of things.
What's happening on the markets today after yesterday?
Now, kicking things off in Asia, those markets staging a recovery after yesterday's bloodbath. We saw Japan's stock market declining on Monday due to concerns over a strong yen, tighter monetary policy, and a potential U.S. recession. This was the worst decline since the 1987 market crash. Although the market bounced back slightly today, Japanese stocks are expected to remain low in the short term after a sharp 3-day decline that wiped out over 20% of their value since July's high point. With that, the Japanese Nikkei is trading 7% higher, while China's Shanghai index slipped 0.3%. Over in Wall Street, futures are in the green as buyers emerged after global equities witnessed that 3-day sell-off on concerns of a possible slowdown in the world's largest economy and extreme valuations in the tech sector. Back at home, markets being caught up in that sell-off with the JSE tumbling. The All-Share ended the day in the red, down over 1%. Local markets, however, were spared the worst of the sell-off as it is not too exposed to major tech companies. The rand, however, was hit and it reached a near 2-month low at 18.68 to the dollar. It has since recovered some of those losses, currently trading at 18.49.
Taulang Lachela is our business reporter. Thanks very much.
Africa Update on SAfm.
Good morning, Advocate Sipho Mantula. What's happening? Can we get an update on Nigeria? Ongoing issues there.
Refreshing morning, John, and Jumbo Africa to the listeners. John, what we are picking up in Nigeria, despite President Bola Tinubu requesting for a dialogue, this is day 6 now of the protests going on in terms of issues of governance, cost of living crisis. And others are saying government forgets that when you are talking of a dialogue, actually what this protest is, it is part of the dialogue with the masses of the working people. President Bola Tinubu has been trying by all means, John, to deal with the gas subsidy, issues of currency, and at the same time having to deal with the youth of Lagos, Nigeria, Abuja, in all those areas, and curfew has been imposed in some of the states.
And in Niger, the US handing over military bases?
They handed over ahead of the 15th of September. We don't know what is the reason. The Air Base 201 in the city of Agadez was one of the 2 hubs of the U.S. that were using as a counter-terrorism operations in Niger. They've pulled out also in Air Base 101, which is a small drone base for the U.S. in Niger. This has also caused tension, John, because the Germans also have to leave those bases as well by September, but it appears that they have also opted to leave by this month of August. We know the challenges of Niger is one of the Sahel areas that went through a military coup in 2023.
Little rumblings in Zimbabwe. Is this worrying?
You know, the issue is that there's a summit coming in Zimbabwe, but there's an exiled foreign affairs minister who's here in the country, Tamzembi. Others are saying he's either in South Africa or in the neighboring countries, where he's now warning President Mnangagwa of the people surrounding him, saying that they might be also giving him the same lies and the same attitude that was given to the then President Robert Mugabe. The issue of him closing down the SADC summit of NGOs, human rights activists, others are seeing it as a superstar dictator that has been done by the then President Robert Mugabe. Now, this foreign affairs minister is warning President Mnangagwa to look people who are surrounding him, that they might be giving him wrong information about clamping down the civil society.
And I see AU commissioners. Who's bringing this up? That AU commissioners must be elected for ideas, not personalities.
That is quite true. Remember that the AU has to appoint the AU commissioner, chairperson, the deputy chairperson. Musa Faki might not be coming back. Raila Odinga is also contesting. So PLO Lumumba is also contesting, and others. They want to be part of the AU commission. And now what is today going to happen, John, is that we have 8 positions of commissioners who are commissioners on tourism, rural development, energy. These are very critical commissioners at the AU level that have to be appointed this week. And that's where they'll be leading to 2025 AU Summit, where you'll be having the AU chairperson, what you call the CEO of the AU. Faki might not come back of what he has done previously with the issues of Israel observer status at the AU. He could not handle the issues around Chad, the Sahel coups, and the conflicts in the eastern DRC might not bring Musa Faki back. But what is important is the role of these commissioners at the AU to push Agenda 2063. So we'll wait and see today who will be appointed as the key people who will be leading the African Union Executive Committee.
And what happened on this day, the 6th of August?
Today is it's a national holiday in the African diaspora in Jamaica. It was on this day in 1962 when Jamaica was liberated from the United Kingdom. Jamaica has got its relation with South Africa. It's almost 30 years. They established diplomatic relations in 1994 on the 9th of September. But today in Kingston, Jamaica, it's a public holiday where they reflect on the independence of 1962. We know the impact of Jamaica, when you look at sports, you look at their sprinters, you look at the issues of music. Jamaica had an impact in the African diaspora as well globally. Asante Sana John, as I was leading the conversation, SAfm observing the National Women's Month.
Advocate Sipho Mantula, thanks very much.
The Serengeti, located on the northern part of Tanzania, bordering Kenya on the north and Ngorongoro in the south. Home to the African Big Five and millions of zebras, birds and other predators. Serengeti 2 returns to the unspoiled corner of the Serengeti for more animal drama. There's humor, heartbreak and nail-biting tension as new characters move in and familiar faces continue their stories. Channel your inner adventurer with Serengeti 2, Sundays at 6 p.m. only on S3. Open up.
SA Schools football comes alive on the 9th and 10th of August 2024 at Sarat Park, Wits University for the SA Schools National Championship from 9 a.m. daily. The best under 15 boys and girls representing their province's school teams will battle it out to try and be selected into the under 15 schools national team. Bring your family and camp chairs to support your provincial under 15 team. If you're not in Gauteng, catch the games on SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4 and SABC Plus. For more details, visit safa.net. SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Call us on 086 000 2032.
Prophet OJ is in my king. How's it, Prophet? Go ahead.
John, good morning. How are you? I'm saved by the blood of God, Jesus Christ. Look, let's go to the Lokotla. You remember, John, that before 94, there was a sort of a tug of war among the ANC members as to what could be the direction of the economy. And the old men then said, let's not fight over that. Let's get the country first politically, and then we'll look into that and see if we can shape up the economic path. After 94, unfortunately, after the death of Chris Hani, this was abandoned. And the African National Congress and all the political parties in South Africa and the nation, they never considered to go back to the table and say, now we have got the political, power, now let's go for the economic power. So unfortunately, that was never designed. It is for that reason that even today, we still do not have an economic vision, which is clear to every citizen in South Africa. Unfortunately, at the moment, South Africans do not seem to belong or to own anything about the economy of their land.
Prophet,
So this is-
all right, Prophet, we're short on time. So you're saying that the ANC didn't focus enough on changing who has the economy and increasing the economy in South Africa?
Yeah,
Okay.
unfortunately, they focused on other things,
Right.
political.
All right,
But
Prophet,
they did not focus on the economy, the power of the economy.
Prophet Inoje saying that was the ANC's issue. Churchill in Eastern Cape, you have another one.
Yes, Prophet, yes, Asaf. Yeah, look, looking at this issue of the ANC, in my view, I think there's a plethora of reasons as to why there's this decline. And in my view, I think it's untenable. Look, let's understand that the ANC is a liberation movement. And liberation movements, when they come in, we all become excited and think that they are panacea to all our problems. You look at when the ANC came in, starts from President Mandela, it was going up. It was doing quite well. And then it came in, so it was doing quite well. But when you look at Jacob Zuma up to the current president, I think the current president is the worst one. And some of their problems, I think it's greed and corruption. And in my view, you can't cleanse the ANC from that. One, it's worse now, it's in this GNU. The problems of the ANC are untenable. One of the main problems is that when they're in government, they don't transform fully to become parties in government. Their modus operandi has always been like that of collapsing the apartheid state.
Oh, look, sorry,
So
I just
now-
want to go back to the point you made. You can't blame the ANC for corruption.
Hello?
You said you can't blame the ANC for corruption.
No. Obviously, we have to blame it. But all I'm saying is that these liberation movements always come and go. The ANC, is a liberation movement. It is time. Do you understand what I'm trying to say?
Okay, all right.
It is time that the ANC now, just like other liberation movements, let's go and read the history of liberation movement. Because when they're in government, they become entitled. They think that they own the people. There's corruption and there's this entitlement and they become stubborn. Are you with me?
Yep. All right.
They own the people.
Churchill,
So that's the problem.
Churchill in the Eastern Cape feeling that the ANC feels as if they own the people. What do you think? The decline of the ANC, they've had their Lokotla for 3 days. We've mentioned some of those issues in conversations we've had. Give us a call, 086 000 2032.
SAfm, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
One of the issues that we've been watching this morning is the impact of the mist and fog out at Emeletheni, as well as a crash on the N12 between Emeletheni and Ockies. Good news, it is all easing up. The N12 crash-in is being cleared, and the traffic flow generally through the area is better than it has been up until this point, which is an indication that certainly the heaviness of the mist and fog obstruction is starting to ease. Things looking a lot better out there. The N4 into Pretoria this morning, expect a queue between Watermeyer Street and the N1. If you're on your way towards the highway or trying to get through to Pretoria or Hatfield, it's quite a heavy queue. The N1 south from Brockfontein down to New Road's heavy, and just off the highway, Olifantsfontein and Lever Road, no lights there, so expect a busy one through Mid-Ram. The N12 and R24 route into Giluli still being held up by a crash. Driving into Durban on the Southern Freeway, there's a really big backlog this morning from Clarewood up to Victoria Embankment. It's a broken down vehicle and the closure of Brook Street for that China Mall demolition, which is still causing problems. M13 at the N2 bridge between Westville and Sherwood, unusually heavier than normal this morning. And Cape Town, lots of traffic on the R300 moving from Kales River up towards the N1 highway. It's a lot worse than normal. And a bus involved in a collision on Jakes Curvell Drive, just south of Voortrekker Road Junction, so between the casino and Voortrekker Road near the railway bridge. Very heavy backlogs from Langa going north on the N7, and very slow coming through Goodwood towards that scene as well, going south towards Epping. Rob Byrne, SAfm Traffic.
Nothing beats the feeling of relaxing on your couch after a long, hard day, getting rid of those work clothes and feeling the freedom of being in your PJs. Throwing off that lace front, undoing your hair, that makeup, voila, gone. It's going to be a quiet, relaxed night. Well, not on S3. Bring a whole lot of vroom to your weeknights with Top Gear Season 16. Monday to Wednesday at 10 p.m. and Top Gear specials such as Top Gear from A to Z and Top Gear The Races. Friday nights from 9 to 11 p.m. Channel your inner vroom with BBC Primetime. Only on S3. Open up.
You wouldn't think of him without thinking of gold. Wade van Niekerk won gold and broke Michael Johnson's 17-year-old world record.
He's pulling away. It's an unbelievable victory by a huge margin. A century of history at 43.03.
Van Niekerk's performance at the men's 400-meter final will undoubtedly be remembered forever. Although he was running blind in lane 8, considered the worst lane on the track, the 24-year-old rider gave it his all and broke a 17-year-old record and won gold at the same time. South Africa left Rio with 10 medals and numerous first times. The country's athletes wrote their stories into the Olympic history books and will forever be admired for their achievements. Magical moments of the Olympics, brought to you by SABC Sport, proud broadcaster of the Olympic Games Paris 2024.
For the love of the game.
SAfm is celebrating its 88th birthday, and what better way to celebrate than with you, our loyal listener. We will be giving away 8,800 to 10 lucky listeners during the month of August. To stand a chance of winning, stay tuned to SAfm and SMS the keyword SAfm88 followed by your name to 41391 and listen to the station throughout the day where you could be selected as a winner. SMSs are charged at R1.50 per SMS. Free SMSs and SMS bundles do not apply. SAfm 104 to 107 nationwide.
5 to 8 with SAfm. I'm John Gericke. Let's continue talking about these human trafficking and kidnapping cases in South Africa. Lizette Lancaster is manager of the Crime and Justice Information Hub at the Institute for Security Studies. Lizette, good morning to you. Is South Africa the human trafficking capital of the world, as we've been told?
Good morning. I don't think we know, but I don't think we are there yet. The problem is, of course, that we have seen an increase in organized crime, and organized criminals venture into a wide range of businesses, if I can call it that, illicit businesses, of which human trafficking is one. And of course, with porous borders and just the situation, the socioeconomic conditions on the continent, people looking for work and such, it makes South Africa an easy place for human trafficking. But our statistics don't show it yet.
We spoke about border control. We talk about all the time our porous borders as well. But there's a point raised that regional stability and security, as you say, is very important because people want to come to South Africa for a better life.
Exactly. Even if we look at the Zamazamas, the illicit miners, we see that many of those that get caught into these gangs that operate underground are very young kids that get trafficked from our border countries such as Lesotho. So trafficking is rife. In the current case, we've heard of Ethiopian women that have been trafficked, and it just shows how desperate people are for employment, that they fall for certain types of schemes and so on.
How many different, you talk about schemes, how many different syndicates would there be? Or could you find 5 people and that would end all of this trafficking?
In theory, of course, when you disrupt these organized syndicates, you disrupt their operations and you can significantly reduce the number of human trafficking cases, kidnapping cases, and we have seen these successes. The problem is that we have seen this proliferation of organized crime syndicates, not just those operating transnationally, so from our borders, or international sort of syndicates operating from places like Bangladesh, for instance, but also local copycat groups that engage in kidnapping in their local communities, dealing with, often with extortion and drug dealing and so on. So the problem is it's like that kids game where you whack the mole, I think it's called, the American game, where you interrupt one syndicate but another one pops up. So it's very difficult.
We're hearing about Home Affairs officials, and one or two have just been arrested, and they've been fined as well, and sent to prison. Would that all form part of the syndicate? In other words, syndicates going to a Home Affairs official and say, here's a little brown envelope if you can give illegal visas.
Syndicates, especially transnational syndicates, cannot operate in our borders without the assistance of law enforcement and other officials. And that is unfortunately how bribery and corruption flourish. So we have seen it with even local gangs where they buy local law enforcement. So yes, they cannot do this alone, and that is part of the modus operandi, to bribe local officials or people, irrespective of, it is not just because they are Home Affairs, it's whatever these officials need to do. These gangs need. So they will bribe whomever they need to operate.
And finally, a border has two sides. It has South African side. We can be as secure as we can be, but it's on the other side that there might be a problem. What sort of diplomacy should South Africa be implementing here?
Yes, and I think that has been part of the problem, right? We have seen there are sort of SADC agreements and there's free trade agreements with the AU. So it becomes a bit of a diplomatic nightmare for the South African government. But yes, unfortunately, as we see with most countries in the world, we do need to strengthen our border control, and it will mean that. I know the Border Management Authority and Home Affairs are speaking about making sure that you, like if you go to America or the Europe, that you actually apply for visas way before you even reach the border.
Yeah.
So that's one of the options they're looking at.
Rosette Lancaster is a manager of the Crime and Justice Information Hub at the Institute for Security Studies. It's 8 o'clock. You're with SAfm.
Outsurance will go out of their way to try and save you money on your car insurance. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. SMS out to 30754. Now that's good news.
In our top story, suspected cash in transit robbers killed in a shootout with police, and a local government clean-up strategy for the city of Johannesburg. Good morning. Police have shot dead 8 alleged cash in transit robbers and arrested 5 in Town 2 in Khayelitsha on the Cape Flats. Police spokesperson Novella Putelwa says a multidisciplinary team of priority crime investigation members, the Special Task Force and intelligence operatives followed up on information about a possible cash in transit robbery.
When a police multidisciplinary team, following up on intelligence, approached the suspects and they fired at the police who retaliated. After the shootout, police confiscated an assortment of firearms comprising 7 AK-47 rifles, 2 R5 rifles, an R4 rifle, 2 pistols, as well as an assortment of rounds of ammunition.
2 of the 5 people charged with manufacturing and dealing in drugs are expected to apply for bail in the Groblersdal Magistrates Court in Limpopo today. 2 South African nationals, Frederick Botha and Simpiwe Kumalo, will continue with their bail application. The co-accused 3 Mexican nationals have however abandoned their applications for bail. The 5 accused were arrested after the Hawks discovered an illicit drug lab at the Tabamunate farm 3 weeks ago. Abafani Munyai reports.
The accused started with their bail application on Thursday last week. The hearing was postponed for arguments and judgment. They were arrested after the Hawks busted and dismantled the laboratory, which they say is the largest they have ever discovered in the country. The laboratory was established in the middle of a dense bushes at the foot of a mountain several kilometers outside Groblersdal. The laboratory was a center for clandestine manufacturing of crystal meth worth over 2 billion rand.
Former President Jacob Zuma is today expected to make an appearance in his capacity as private prosecutor in the High Court in Johannesburg. Zuma has to appear to ensure his matter stays on the court roll in the private prosecution case against his successor, President Cyril Ramaphosa. Zuma is accusing Ramaphosa of being an accessory after the fact, after he lodged a complaint to Ramaphosa alleging that prosecutor Billy Downer leaked his medical records during his corruption trial in the KwaZulu-Natal division of the High Court in Pietermaritzburg in contravention of the National Prosecuting Authority Act. Zoleka Godashe reports.
Former President Jacob Zuma will seek to keep his private prosecution case on the roll when he goes to the criminal court this morning in what is expected to be another brief appearance. This in a series of legal attempts to privately prosecute the president. Ramaphosa last year successfully sought the court's intervention to review and set aside the bid by his predecessor, a move Zuma sought to appeal before the full bench of the High Court and lost. The former president then petitioned the Supreme Court of Appeal, but the appellate court dismissed it. Zuma has since asked the appeals court to reconsider.
The ANC has promised to start its local government clean-up strategy with the city of Johannesburg Metro. Party President Cyril Ramaphosa has directed the party's NEC Lekgotla and the Gauteng provincial leadership to sort out the Johannesburg leadership saga and service delivery crisis. The ANC spokesperson Zuko Kotlimpi says the focus is now on the local sphere of government, which is seen as the coalface of service delivery.
Part of what the ANC is going to do now is to focus very seriously on the local government sphere and work to stabilize at that level. And we're starting in Johannesburg because we're not going to sit by and say, oh no, there's load reduction in Johannesburg, people are complaining about electricity. But we as national government, we've sorted out ESCOM, there's no load shedding, but people are not having electricity on the other side. So we've got to find a way to bring in both national and provincial government to intervene at local government to stabilize the leadership at the level, but also to stabilize the administrative performance of these levels of the state. So what the Lekgotla will then do is to discuss specifically what are the key interventions that are required to stabilize local government beyond the leadership issue.
And finally, the army chief in Bangladesh is to meet student protest leaders shortly as the country prepares to form a new government a day after Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina resigned and fled the country. The army is setting up an interim government, but student leaders said they would not accept an army-led government. The students joined celebrations and voiced their joy over the resignation of the Prime Minister.
This is not just the end of the tyrant Sheikh Hasina. With this, we put an end to the mafia state that she has created. We put an end to the corporate kleptocracy that she has started. We don't want a military government. What we need is a civilians charter. We need a civilians government, and we are going to ensure it.
We are getting what we deserve, what 16 crore or 18 crore people of this country deserves. Everyone is happy, everyone is cheerful, everyone is celebrating. This has to be a historical day.
Recapping the top story, police have shot dead 8 alleged cash-in-transit robbers and arrested 5 in Town 2 in Kailicha on the Cape Flats. For SAfm News, I am Anne Musa.
Those were the top stories for this hour. Don't miss out on a possible car insurance saving. SMS out to 30754 for a quote. Outsurance, where you always get something out.
Because Outsurance is the best insurance company in South Africa, they work even harder for their clients. Outsurance has consistently had the best ombudsman for short-term insurance results for the past 11 years. And Outsurance pays out over 1.7 million rand in out bonuses every day to their clients. Why would you want to be anywhere else? SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754, or visit outsurance.co.za for a 10-minute quote that could save you thousands. A licensed insurer and FSP, T's and C's and information online.
SAfm, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Your way through Joburg up towards Sandton, there's some very heavy traffic. Still got the usual sort of peak hour volumes jamming between Boysons and Empire Road. Men from sort of Houghton Drive area, Parktown gets heavy all the way through to Grayston Drive. Still dealing with a crash on the N12 and R24 routes at Galuli, so coming in from Ekurhuleni, both routes are heavy. And big traffic on the N4 in Victoria this morning, direction Hatfield, queuing up from Vartamea Street through towards the N1 highway junction. Now Durban, the M4 Southern Freeway busy, easing but still heavy from the Umbilo side through Congela in towards city centre territory. N2 at this hour still jammed up from the M7 through Spaghetti Junction into the works area near Westwood Mall. And Cape Town's N7, Jake Skirville, if you can avoid it, do so. A bus involved in a collision just south of Four Trekker Road. So between Four Trekker Road and the casino, it's very heavy going north of the queue from the N2 all the way up towards Four Trekker Road, and southbound from France Conradi down towards the railway bridge is quite badly backed as well. Also, a lot of traffic on the M3 this morning, queuing from Constantia up and down Weinberg Hill all the way through to UCT, and then continues on into Hospital Bends. Rob Byrne, SAfm Traffic.
A very good morning to you in your SAfm Sports headlines. It's an action-packed day for Team South Africa at the Paris Olympics. You can look forward to the likes of Andy Burkett and Hamish Lovemore paddle in the men's kayak double 500-meter heats together with Sakita Nene and Laith Pillay. And we also have rugby news, which has got the Springbok scrum. They'll be looking to test new tactics against the Wallabies. All this and more at around 8:30.
Getting ahead of the morning with #SAfm Breakfast.
Zai, you want to hang around? I'm giving cash away.
Oh, show me the moolah.
$8,800 to a lucky listener in a minute.
Oh, man.
Or so.
I could do with that moolah.
All right, so hang around. We're going to give it away, Zai.
Oh.
Okay, it's not for us.
Not to me.
We're going to give it to somebody else. This is how it's going to work, right? People have been SMSing, and we've got a whole lot of these to give away. People have been SMSing SAfm 88, followed by their name to 41391. We're going to randomly phone somebody. They have to answer the phone by saying SAfm 88 in order to win it.
Yeah.
All right, so hang around. Okay.
I'm hanging.
Okay, we're going to give that away. We also got our tech update. There's a whole host of incubators that have been happening, and that's been shortlisted now. And also, there's a new art and design scene in Johannesburg. We're going to find out about that and plenty more in the final hour.
Weeknights on S3 are all about winning, and winning big with Wheel of Fortune. For the first time in South Africa, Wheel of Fortune is on S3, Monday to Friday at 7:30 p.m, where Rorisang has South Africans locked into the world of word puzzles. Watch contestants spin the wheel to stand a chance of walking away with 100,000 Rand, or a car valued at over 500,000 Rand. You can also be part of the show and win big. To be part of the show, log on to wheeloffortunesa.tv and let the wheel decide your fate. Channel your inner wordsmith with Wheel of Fortune SA on S3. Open up.
South Africa's golden girl just knew how to silence all her critics with gold. Caster Semenya won gold in the women's 800-meter and made all South Africans proud, setting a new national record.
Semenya looks over her shoulder and she's away. The winning time is going to be terrific. She comes through 1:55.46. Well, that smashes the world list.
Rio was electrical. The 25-year-old brought Team SA the second gold medal and became the first black South African woman to do so. The weeks after, the Games continued to reveal more criticism, including Britain's Lindsay Sharp, who felt Caster had an unfair advantage. South African excellence got the world talking. She undoubtedly left a remarkable footprint. Magical moments of the Olympics. Brought to you by SABC Sport, proud broadcaster of the Olympic Games Paris 2024.
For the love of the game.
SAfm Breakfast, helping you navigate your day.
Going to help you navigate your bank balance a little bit. SAfm's turning 88, and for the whole of this month, most of this month, we're going to be giving away 8,000 Rand to 10 lucky winners, 88,000 Rand in all for the SAfm 88th birthday competition. All you need to do to enter is SMS it, don't WhatsApp it to us. You've got to SMS SAfm 88 followed by your name to the number 41391. It'll cost you R1.50. No free SMSs apply. Entries are open now, and we will be calling a random person. We'll be doing that in a minute. And when we do phone you, you must answer SAfm 88 in order to win $8,800. If you can't be contacted, you will be disqualified from winning the prize. And another person will be drawn. Let's see if it all works. Let's go to, is it Mark? Mark, hello.
SAfm 88.
You're a winner, Mark. Well done. $8,800, all yours.
Thank you.
All right, what are you going to do with the money, Mark?
Thank you. I'm going to spend it naturally.
Where are you going to spend it?
With my wife.
It sounds like she's made the plans for your money already there, Mark.
Yeah. Thank you.
What's she saying in the background? What's she saying?
Well, she's smiling.
Yeah. Where are you from, Mark?
Manenberg.
Congratulations, Mark, and keep on listening. Your favorite radio station in the whole planet. Please say SAfm is.
Thank you.
Lekker. All right. Mark in Manenberg, one of the winners of $8,800. We have plenty more to give away. Let me tell you how to enter again. SAfm 88, followed by your name on SMS number 41391. It'll cost you R1.50. No free SMSs applying. Good luck to you.
SAfm is celebrating its 88th birthday, and what better way to celebrate than with you, our loyal listener. We will be giving away 8,800 to 10 lucky listeners during the month of August. To stand a chance of winning, stay tuned to SAfm and SMS the keyword SAfm88 followed by your name to 41391 and listen to the station throughout the day where you could be selected as a winner. SMSs are charged at R1.50 per SMS. Free SMSs and SMS bundles do not apply. You are listening to SAfm Breakfast.
I'm John Kerrick. It's 8:15. Felt good. Hopefully Mark does good stuff for these $8,800. Don't forget to enter as well. Let's take a couple of voice notes. Plenty have come through since the beginning of the show. Let's start from bright and early this morning. This one came through 6:30.
Hello, John. I'm going to be hard on this one, John. I'm going to be frank on this one. And we have to be frank as callers on this one because we've been talking until we were blue in our eyes about human trafficking, drug dealing in South Africa, whereby our country is too soft. It's like a petticoat government, our country, led by a woman, in brackets, so to speak. Law enforcement agency and criminal justice system of our country is too lax, if you like, to curb or to stop this criminality caused by drug lords from foreign nationals, from the foreigners. Thank you, William Kuma.
Well, I'm looking at the WhatsApp. Sybil and who is it? Rian as well. Rian, you got to SMS it. Don't send it to our WhatsApp number, this competition. It's to the WhatsApp number, where's my piece of paper? SMS number, 41391 is where you've got to send SAfm88 followed by your name. Otherwise, you're not entered. Don't send it to the WhatsApps. Another one.
Morning, John. Sonia from a very chilly Centurion. You would think that after the hiding the ANC got in the elections, that they would be willing to raise their hands and say, we have let the country down, we have done a terrible job. But yet they're still looking for excuses, like tribalism and the MK party. Try corruption and dishonesty. Guys, anyway, have a fantastic morning.
John's in the Eastern Cape. Hello, John.
Morning, John. And well done on taking over from Stephen. You're doing
Thank you.
a good job.
I'm trying my best.
Yeah, just very quickly before I get to my main point, I'm interested in how SAfm calculates at 88 years old. Because as far as I'm aware, SAfm only came into being in the 90s. But anyway,
yeah, it's the same station as the original station that started.
Really, but I'm looking forward to winning the prize.
Good luck, John.
John, on the trafficking, I'm an advocate in private practice, and I had some experience with these matters quite recently, and a couple of matters. And when you talk about the incidence of trafficking worldwide, you have to compare the definitions in different countries. And South Africa has an extremely broad definition. And in fact, it's being interpreted by the courts even more broadly than I think it should be. And I won't go into details, but a couple of cases I've been involved in the Eastern Cape recently, where there have been trafficking counts and there have been convictions, I think it's really stretching an already broad definition.
Well, what's the problem with that? Surely we're getting rid of the problems.
Well, no, you have to deal with the definition. So And as I'm saying, if you're comparing countries with countries,
Yeah.
you have to look at what is categorized as trafficking.
All right.
And where you're working with an already broad definition, the boundaries of which are now being extended, and I say extended beyond what was actually intended, then your comparison really is rather meaningless.
All right, John in the Eastern Cape. We'll have a look-see at what that comparison is. There's a topic of conversation, I'm sure. Solomon in Limpopo, how's it?
Hello, good day, John. How are you?
Lekker.
Oh, well, John, thank you very much for the job which you are doing.
Thank you.
Let me go to the elephant. The elephant is that the ANC become apathy by the officials who are not doing the right job. Let me give you an example, John, and I'm asking you to email this matter to the Minister Ntunu. Minister Ntunu was on the air in a media broadcast in a ETV and says all the problems should be brought to him. Here is the case which you need to maybe to proceed about it. 5405-2021. There is a pagery there. Two magistrates, they are saying to me there is no case. But, hey, John, pagery, it means, let me abbreviate on this way. There is a foreigner that's staying in my stand. And I wrote it in under the oath that I'm staying in 165 and the stand is 31, my stand from my father. And I made the case and followed the process. And I told these people that I will be on the air. Just email 5405-2021 to the minister and says, this person wants iPad to zoom in because it's now 4 years. But the foreigner is exactly in my house. And those policies, they are not arresting. The provincial commissioner at Limpopo.
All right.
I take the hand for her.
Okay, Solomon. Solomon,
John,
do me a favor. We could be here for a while, Solomon. So do us a favor. Can you email us? It is studio@safm.co.za, and we are more than happy to look into that conversation. Studio@safm.co.za, and send us that information, and then we'll be able to do something about it. Thanks.
In August, we celebrate our amazing women farmers who nourish and clothe our nation.
Farmers and researchers and academia can work closely.
Catch Living Land on Sundays at 11 a.m. on SABC2.
Babina Noko returns to the battlefield with a great strategy to display a melody of victory. But the citizens are shaking their heads. Eric Tinkler's boys are confident that they will land successfully in the last four. This is the MTN 8 quarter-final. Wafa Wafa. Catch Sekhukhune United FC and Cape Town City FC on Saturday, 10 August at 2:30 p.m. Live on SABC1 and SABC radio stations. Also available on SABC Plus and SABCSport.com. #We love it here. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
John Gerika on SAfm.
22 minutes past 8 o'clock. The Embassy of Ireland in South Africa, in partnership with Wits University's Tshimologong Digital Innovation Precinct, the Department of Science and Innovation, the Technology Innovation Agency, and the Dog Patch Labs of Ireland have announced 7 tech startups for the prestigious Irish Tech Challenge South Africa 2024. Let's find out more with Hangwi Lepatsi, who's the incubation manager at the Tshimologong Digital Innovations Precinct. Hangwi, good morning to you. Thanks very much. First of all, how was the shortlist created for these 7 startups?
Thank you very much, John, and happy birthday to SAfm.
Thank you.
So the Irish Tech Challenge is in its 3rd iteration this year, and managed to garner almost more than 350 applications. And what we did was to look at them for their potential to be able to globalize their businesses. And the assessment took a long period because we finished our call-outs in May. And just now we've gone through all 350, did a proper analysis of whether or not does this business have got the capacity to then globalize. Is this business, does it have the right business model? And is it likely to really step out of the shores of South Africa? And have they done some work? Because that was a key part as well. that they've got traction, they're post-revenue, they're South African-owned, and so on. So it was quite an interesting phase that we went through in selection. Then we also did interviews with the top 15 to just get now a lot more depth and detail about what it is that they do, that then enabled us to then select the top 7 that we've now chosen, which we think is the best from what we got.
These startups, are they already in business or are they still just ideas?
So they are in business. They're post-revenue businesses. Some are leaning closer to scale-ups as well, or growth stage startups, as they would be called in different circles. So they have been in business. They've done some work. They've done the groundwork. And we are saying, well, we see that you had some traction. You've put your foot on the ground. Let us help you elevate it a little bit further.
It's a variety of people, from enterprise-grade utility management solutions to fly ash beneficiaries business. So it's just the tech, and if they can expand and grow and become worldwide.
Yes, so I think that's the beauty of the program, because outside of us collaborating across multiple stakeholders, what we are also looking for is that the way tech works, is that for it to be elevated, you need to also collaborate amongst a variety of different tech startups to see how much can you do that is greater than what is already being done now. And at this time in our country as well, when we're dealing with a lot of other issues, it's good to see that there's people doing difficult work and can find opportunities, one, to globalize whilst they step in Ireland, but to also see what it is that they can do together that can assist the work that all the problems that we have in South Africa as well.
Yeah, they're joining. What is this Irish Tech Challenge now? So what's the next step now that these 7 have been identified?
So the Irish Tech Challenge is now an opportunity for them to firstly go through what we call a pre-acceleration program in South Africa, where they will come together and then provide them with additional, after having assessed through the interview process and so on, then get them some technical skills that can assist them to elevate. Can they understand the intellectual property a little bit better? How do they do their data governance? Those kind of elements. How is their go-to-market strategy as crisp as they suppose in South Africa? So we'll have them in South Africa, and we'll do a showcase where people can see them publicly on the 30th of August at Similar Core. And then following that, a month later, between the 20th and the 29th of September, we'll take them to Ireland, where they will learn from Irish tech ecosystem expertise. And that is really the climax of the program, because Ireland is rated really highly, almost as the top innovation hub, particularly tech hub, particularly in Europe, and as the only English-speaking country in Europe now, is that it then gives them a gateway into the rest of Europe and hopefully into the rest of the world as well. So that is the sequencing that we'll go through in the next few months.
Hungry, what is the current plan for a tech entrepreneur? It's almost, there's 2, I guess. You want to compete with the big boys, or you want to make hundreds of millions of rand being bought by the big boys. What's the current thinking?
So, and particularly with the guys that we have, and maybe you can give an example with an entity like Moment, who has looked at renewable energy and saw that there is money coming from different private equity fund managers who must invest in private equity in renewable energy. And they thought to themselves, okay, how can we make it easier for them to find the project that they need to fund, to solve for climate change, but also to solve for the need for green energy. And then they've used blockchain technology to piece all of that together, whilst they also allow you and I to invest money into that and financing of that project, because they understand that if they need to grow and develop, they will need to create something that is different, something that is unique, something that is easy, that is accessible, that really solves a real problem. And that way they can exit into even bigger entities around the world. So it's the kind of intellectual property model that they would have that would be key. Their go-to-market strategy would then allow them to be found by the right kind of people. But also an opportunity like the Irish Tech Challenge allows them to then be known. Because now I'm talking to John, you just heard about Moment. Now it's an opportunity for other people to say, okay, who is this Moment? Who is this Adbot? Who is this Asina, as the different kind of businesses that we have? And how can we help them continue to grow and maybe exit into other shores as well.
What do you have to say, Hungry, to somebody who said, well, all the world's problems are solved, I can't come up with new ideas? Where does somebody who wants to be an entrepreneur and wants to start small and solve problems in the world, how do they go about doing it?
So, and I think, let me use an example of one of the 7. We have Samanjalo, a fly ash beneficiation business,
Yeah.
started by a woman who's in Mpumalanga, who saw that these coal dumps are causing different health problems in her community, and thought to herself, what can I do with this fly ash to change it into something much more productive? And she's sitting in the outskirts of Witbank in Mpumalanga, not necessarily in the heartbeat of what they say is corporate business South Africa and Gauteng. So what you need is just that idea, that spirit that sits within you, that mindset that what problem do I want to solve? The problems of the world are plenty. And you also have a unique perspective to how those problems can be solved. And Prudence Simelane from Samanjalo is a good example of that. And I think that is what everybody should be thinking about. Innovation is murky. It doesn't have the linear order that people think it does. You need to just be you need to find yourself first to be able to then see the world with the right kind of eyes to solve the problems that are in front of you.
Is there a place we can find out, first of all, about these startups and maybe start preparing for next year's competition?
Oh, yes. Definitely go on www.irishtechchallenge.com.
All right.
Also check out all our social media platforms. It's Tumologong Digital Innovation Precinct. And we will be making additional touch points everywhere as well so that you know about them. Also, register if you want to see them virtually as well. We see them in person 30th of August. At Tumologong Digital Innovation Precinct in Braamfontein.
All good work, Hangwi Lapatsi. Thank you very much. Incubation Manager at the Tumologong Digital Innovation Project. Sounds like a good idea. Such diverse, from blockchain technology to fly ash, as you heard. A situational awareness company that uses data to help organizations achieve operational efficiency. Everybody needs that. You're with SAfm, just about 8:30. We're going to take calls and messages after the news and just before 9 o'clock. And Gritty Johannesburg, it says here, has a robust art and design scene. How are we stopping people from going to Cape Town for their arts instead and focusing on Johannesburg as well? Tandiwe Matibela is the General Manager and Global PR Communications and Stakeholder Relations. There's a whole new thing happening in Joburg. Tebe Maguga has collaborated with Dior and other collections at London and Paris and now brought it to Johannesburg. So all of that and more coming up.
Good morning. In the headlines, the ANC will wrap up its back-to-back NEC meeting and the NEC Lekgotla in Boksburg East of Johannesburg later today. The six-day gathering was called to reflect on the outcomes of the elections and the program of action for next year. Police have shot dead 8 alleged cash-in-transit robbers and arrested 5 in Town 2 in Kailicha on the Cape Flats. And there have been jubilant celebrations on the streets of Bangladesh after weeks of increasingly violent unrest forced the Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina to step down. She's fled to India, ending a run of 15 years in power. I'll have details on these and other stories at 9.
SAfm, guiding you through the rush hour traffic. Not one but two collision scenes for good measure coming into Galilees this morning from Ekurhuleni, so the N12 from Craft Road and the R24 from the Edenvale exit. Very heavy queues as you line up very slowly in towards and working your way past those collision scenes. Also, the N3 North has an impact linking on to the N12 East because of the onlooking factor. One of the crash scenes coming in from Ekurhuleni to Galilees in the right lane, so highly visible to all the eastbound traffic on the N12, and that is rippling back into Germiston along the N3 running north. Mike 1 still heavy for this time of morning from on one day through towards Braamfontein. Durban, a vehicle's just flipped over at Cliffdale on your way to Durban, so just south of Hammersdale. You'll pick up some big traffic queues into that scene. The M4 Umbillo into the city centre stays really busy. Cape Town, we saw this yesterday, seeing it again today. Hout Bay Main Road going into Hout Bay Central remains heavy. There is a closure that links you off Hout Bay Main to Valley Road. That link road there is closed, so I guess all the traffic that would normally head out to Valley Road is now having to sit into Hout Bay, so it's a very big backlog of traffic. Hout Bay Main going south, and a bus crash on Scoville Drive, northbound and southbound, just around Voortrekker Road. Very heavy northbound from Langa up to Goodwood on that route, passing the scene, and southbound from Frans Conradi down towards the railway bridge, very slow as well. Rob Byrne, SAfm Traffic. This is SAfm Sport with Zai Khan.
How busy?
So, busy. Always busy. It's action-packed busy for Team South Africa at the Paris Olympics. 10 o'clock this morning, Lauren Mukaiba will rock the boulders. That's in the women's sport climbing at 20 past 11. Look out for Miranda Coetzee running the women's 400-meter repechage. And at 11:30, Andy Burkett and Hamish Lovemore paddling their way in the men's kayak double 500-meter heats. By 10 past 12, Tiffany Koch and Esty Olivier also kayaking. That's in the women's kayak double 500-meter heats. 1 o'clock, Joshua Brains is ready to climb high and aim for the sky in the sport climbing speed qualifiers. And then Zakiti Nene and Light Pillay will be in the men's 400-meter semi-finals action at 25-8 tonight. So yeah, let's cheer our athletes, hoping that they can bring home glory and gold. You can catch it live on SABC Sport. More Olympic news, surfing. Caroline Marks from the United States won the women's surfing gold medal. That's at the Paris Olympics taking place in Tahiti. And the French-Polynesian Kauli Vast won the gold medal in the men's surfing, also taking place in Tahiti. Rugby, exciting times for Springbok Rugby as they prepare to face the Wallabies in their Rugby Championship opener. Springbok scrum coach Dan Human says adapting to the new 30-second scrum law won't be an issue. He's confident the team is well prepared, having practiced 16 live scrums last week to ensure they're ready. Despite the Wallabies' unbeaten streak and new coaching staff, the Boks are determined to start strong. Here's a clip from Dan Human discussing how crucial it is to adapt to the referee's rules.
Some calls in some games go for you and some go against you. But, I'm not going to comment on what he said. And if we have sometimes a lot of calls in our favor, I'm not going to comment on that. I suppose what we've been doing with at the moment is just to try to adapt as soon as possible to the new rules of the game. And we must adapt the way the ref's handling it.
Now, the South African Football Association confirming the return of advocate Tebogo Motlanthe as the association's new Chief Operations Officer. The position of CEO has been vacant since May 2023 when Ms. Lydia Monyapao was elevated to CEO following advocate Motlanthe's departure for personal reasons. And finally, cricket. The head coach of the Dolphins, Imran Khan, will leave his position at the Union in order to take up the role of batting lead at Cricket South Africa. Khan is currently with the Proteas squad in the West Indies as they continue their preparations for the first Test match starting this week. That's a wrap of your sport on SAfm Breakfast. I'm Zai Khan.
The business update on SAfm.
Quick look at the business, what's been happening across the markets with Ntaoleng Lechela. Ntaoleng, good morning. Pick and Pace, what's happening?
Morning, John. So Pick and Pace shareholders are embracing its turnaround strategy. It seems like they are backing company CEO Sean Summers' efforts. This comes as the group got a thumbs up on its recent rights offer, attracting more than double its target. Initially, the grocer was looking at raising 4 billion rand, but it's attracted 8.2 billion in subscriptions. Pick and Pay got the funds it needed, with almost all its shareholders contributed. Now, the funds raised will be used mainly to pay off debt, which sits at about 6.2 billion rand. The extra capital will also help strengthen the company's financial position and support its overall plan to improve the main Pick and Pay business, grow Boxer before its unbundling, also grow the clothing divisions and fix past mistakes. This comes as Pick and Pay, of course, struggles to gain market share in a very competitive market where we have the likes of ShopRite leading.
And Telkom looking good.
So Telkom is attracting more consumers. During the first quarter, it delivered both top line and bottom line growth, and this was driven by its new generation offerings, including data and fiber services. To show just how important the revenue is, next generation now accounts for more than 80% of its overall revenue. The numbers reflect Telkom's turnaround efforts as it experienced a decline in profit over the past year. The telecom company has been trying to reduce its reliance on its old fixed line business for a few years. In 2018, this business made up 53% of its revenue, but now the company is modernizing by switching from old copper cables to newer technologies like fiber optics. This is a big change for the company and has required a lot of capital. But Telkom is benefiting from the shift. Mobile subscribers grew 14.6% and surpassed the 21 million mark, while homes connected to telecom fiber jumped by strong double digits, coming in 19.5% higher.
And what's happening in the markets today?
So it seems like we will be in for a recovery today. Local markets in particular spared the worst of the sell-off, with the likes of Naspers and Prosus quite stable despite the downturn in global tech stocks today. Traders will be shifting their focus to some company news. Nedbank's out with interim results and Afrimat is out with a market update. On the currency front, we've seen the rand regain some ground, recovering from a near 2-month low, trading just under 18.50 to the dollar. Shifting focus to Asia, it looks like we're in for a mixed finish, with Japanese stocks edging higher, but indexes in China and Hong Kong slipping into the red after an upbeat start. Looking at Wall Street futures in positive territory as the global moves start to somewhat improve.
Taulang Lechela, thank you very much. More with her again tomorrow. There's business throughout the day here on SAfm.
Keeping you informed and ready for the day ahead on #SAfm Breakfast.
Take some calls. 06, call number 086 000 2032. Say that again. 086 000 2032. Lots of numbers for you today. Elton in Johannesburg, how's it?
Hi, how are you?
Lekker.
Yeah, I'm calling. There seems to be a crisis which we want SAfm to assist.
Okay.
I'm calling from Loli, Kokotela to be exactly. Kids, I think, as parents, we have been signing the indemnity forms to take it to school, where the bus company and the school supposed to, I think, for scholar transport. There's more than 200 kids, as we are told, that are not being picked up by the very same scholar transport. So
is this to get to and from school, from home?
Yes.
Okay.
And now the kid has to walk.
Yes.
You can imagine, I think from Loli to Annandale Secondary, it might be 10 or 7 kilometers.
Okay.
Then when we go to school, hence now we are calling you, went to school, and then the school says you must go to the scholar transport bus company. We went to the bus company. The bus company is saying a lot of people have been coming to the same company to report the same matter, but it seems as the school is not giving us correct information, or they are lying to parents.
Yeah. All right, Elton, we'll look into it. Where did you say you are?
Loli, the Loli Informal Settlement, Kokotela to be exactly.
Okay, we'll look into it. Elton, I think scholar transport is a huge issue. We've heard those issues about the train crashes into scholar transport and bus accidents as well. So not only, according to that caller, are scholars not getting to school, but once they are at school and they're having to be transported, there are issues as well. So we'll look into that and plenty more. You're with SAfm. It's 19 minutes to 9. Should we take a voice note? I think we've got 1 or 2 voice notes that we can squeeze in. Zai, Zalma, do you want to look into it? Not Zai. Zalma. Yeah, we got voice notes. Let's take that one.
Morning, John. It's Mike in Durban. John, I just want to find out what is happening with Palapala. I mean, the court cases regarding Palapala are not coming through. I mean, the learned judge, panel by a learned former Deputy Chief Justice made it very clear that the man has got a case to answer. Obviously, the thugs in the ANC in Parliament at that time used their majority and they overruled. Obviously the DA helped them somehow. We want this thuggery to be tested in court. Pala must go to court. What's happening?
Morning, Ricky Rikumshariga Upa. Hey, I want to talk about this pastor. Sorry, let me rephrase. This criminal, because what he did, that is a criminal act. Pastor, criminal Mboro. Mboro is a criminal. What he was doing there, wielding the panga, that is attempted murder. That is kidnapping. After that, he kidnapped the kids. So that guy needs to be arrested. Please, let's talk about that. Please.
Hi, John. The ANC needs to do some introspection. Corruption is the leading reason why the ANC has lost power. more than anything else, the day they say we are corrupt and we thought about our stomachs and our pockets and our own families and not the South Africans, is the day they are moving forward. But for now, because they're thinking of other reasons, it's not going to happen. Nothing's going to change. They're actually going to go backwards in the votes.
Some of the WhatsApp voice notes that have come through, 086 000 2032. You can also give us a call. Start that again. What? Focus, John. Focus. It's been a long week. Yeah, it's almost Friday. WhatsApp voice notes, 0614 104 107. And you can give us a call, 086 000 2032. It's only Tuesday. It's been a hell of a week. Coming up in a moment, I think Kathy's in. We're just waiting to see. KG was in yesterday. I'm hoping Kathy's in from 9 o'clock today. Plenty coming up on that show. As always, there's that open line. You can give her a call as well. And we're also talking about an art scene in Johannesburg. Do you go to art galleries in South Africa at all? When last have you gone to a place just to look at art? I'm trying to think if I've ever done. I've been into an art shop. If you go on a little holiday and there's like an artsy shop and there's some guy showing off his wares, and you go, oh, well, that looks pretty. And then you look at the price and you go, well, that's just ridiculous. That's to buy. But have you gone to an arts place? Have you gone to look at sculptures? There's sculpture parks out west of Johannesburg. Let us know if you do. Apparently, we have a robust art and design scene. Michelle Constant talks about it all the time at the weekends. We'll find out a little bit more of that soon.
SAfm, leading the conversations that move us.
It is alleged that the Libyans have been in the base since April.
So how long have police intelligence been aware of this facility?
To be frank with you, at this moment, it's something that also during the visit by the minister it was indicated that cannot share much on the things besides the information that was received by the intelligence structure. There were other information from members of the community.
Wow. The security camp used for military training. Why are foreign nationals being trained in security or guerrilla warfare or whatever it is in South Africa? If South Africans were in another country being trained for those purposes, my word, they would be regarded as terrorists, it would be treason, they'd probably be locked up by those countries and everything.
Update at noon with Sakina Kamwendo, midday to 1 p.m. Keeping you informed and ready for the day ahead on #SAfm Breakfast.
Let's talk about the art scene in Johannesburg. Tandiwe Matibela is the General Manager, Global PR Communications and Stakeholder Relations. Tandiwe, good morning to you. Do we have an art scene? Do we have an art scene in Johannesburg?
Absolutely. We've got an art scene in South Africa.
we have, I mean, I see our artists going overseas and I see our designers going overseas and our music artists going overseas, but they start here, obviously.
Indeed, and that's what makes it so beautiful, you know. But obviously what happens is that when our people, our South Africans go out in the world, we start getting more attention, you know, because obviously it's a bigger stage for us, and that's really awesome, both for our country, the arts, and of course for tourism.
How do we convince people that Joburg has an art scene? It's always seen as the gritty city.
You know, I think the thing about our cities generally is that they are rough and rugged, but they're also authentic. And I think that's what South Africans want to experience, both South Africans actually and people from outside, you know. There's always so much to do in South Africa, and that's what we try to do with our Short Left campaign, to say, you know, go out, just explore your own backyard. And that's probably then what we need to do if we are looking to do any convincing work, to say there's always something to do. It's always fun. It's always authentic.
It's something a TikToker would say, a hidden gem. Come with me to this hidden gem of some art. They shouldn't be hidden gems. They should just be gems.
Exactly.
Where does one start to, if I'm a resident of Johannesburg, I'm listening to this and I think, I actually want to look at some South African art or design. Stebe Magugu has started Magugu House. Where do we begin?
www.shortleft.co is where you can go to find a lot of experiences that you can do in South Africa, more than just the arts, right? But I think it's really where you start is just by stepping out of your home, explore your own backyard, as I've said. And indeed, obviously, right now we are celebrating Tebe Magugu, the renowned fashion designer, who was recognized by Time magazine. He opened up a little cute place called Magugu House in Dunkeld, where he's got a micro gallery where he's showing his works. He's got an eatery. It's just a nice place to be at on a Saturday or Sunday morning where you can just relax, taking the art, taking the food while you obviously relax. And that's what we need to do more of as South Africans.
I'll tell you what I feel. Tandiwe, is when I go to these places, I always feel, for lack of a better word, inadequate. I don't really know what I'm looking at, or I look at the prices, if the prices are there, and I think, oh, that's just beyond me ever. How do I overcome that feeling and enjoy art just for art's sake?
Take in the art for art's sake. And also because we've got the different tourism authorities that actually advertise various experiences that one can have, maybe start off with the stuff that is available to you for free. There's lots of galleries that are actually available. I know that Gauteng is very active in terms of profiling those. And indeed, if you look at a province like KZN, they've just merged with the Film Foundation. So our KZN Tourism Authority is now obviously merged with the film and art so that we can actually bring those closer. What we do try and do in the tourism sector is to make sure that both the tourism experiences as well as the art are accessible and affordable. And that's what we do. Also in our Short Left campaign, we've got a campaign that's going to be from the 2nd to the 8th of September. It's called the Short Left Travel Week. It's got a combination of experiences ranging from obviously being able to take a flight to being able to get an experience. And we are soliciting various industry partners to bring on board, different experiences so that it can actually be more accessible and affordable for South Africans.
Yeah, I'm just thinking, I went to The Wilds in Johannesburg the other day. Lovely little pieces of artwork in there.
Right.
It needed a little work, but I was pleasantly surprised to see how many people were using the space. And that's just one of many Johannesburg spaces. So it's slowly getting there, which is good news.
Which is really good news because we really do need to know our own products and experiences before we can start welcoming the world, yeah?
Apparently there were like 60 owls or something being hidden. I found one. So I'm gonna have to go back again.
You need to go back, and you must take a friend with so that they can help you spot more owls.
Tandiwe Matabela, thank you very much. Shortleft.co.za, General Manager, Global PR Communications and Stakeholder Relations. Let's get us to those art scenes.
SAfm, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Well, the N12 and R24 routes in from Ekurhuleni are going to hold you up. A couple of crash scenes this morning. Just means the N12 from Craft Road, the R24 from Edenvale remain heavy as you come out of the Ekurhuleni area in towards Gilulis. And there's a fair bit of onlooking on the N3 North ramp to the N12 as you go eastbound past those scenes. So the N3 North backing up from the Heldnace interchange. Still plenty of traffic around the Crown. The Mike 1 from Ormonde through to Empire Road stays heavy. The M2 from Benrose into that traffic of the Crown stays really under pressure as well. And a lot of traffic on the Mike 1 from Buccleuch interchange coming down from Midrand onto the Mike 1. That's where you pick it up right down to about Corlett Drive before you're out of that. The N1 section still busy as well. Old Joburg Road through to the New Road exit. Now crossing to Durban. When we last touched base was a crash at Cliffdale, and that queue Durban bound is pretty heavy. The crash scene has been cleared. There are some roadworks there, so that complicates things. But just south of Hammersdale in Chunga, you will pick up a backlog of traffic moving through that area after the earlier crash scene. And Cape Town, a bus involved in a collision a bit earlier this morning. Jakes Kervale Drive near the railway bridge just south of Voortrekker. The N7's heavy both ways, particularly northbound. And still at this hour, a lot of traffic coming out of Tableview. Marine Drive looking slow through Sunset Beach on your way towards Racecourse Road and the Paddocks Junction. And just want to touch on Hout Bay. We told you about some heavy traffic getting into Hout Bay. It stays busy, Hout Bay Main Road, as you come from the Constantia next side. Quite a queue to get in towards that central Hout Bay area. Rob Byrne, SAfm Traffic.
Nothing beats the feeling of relaxing on your couch after a long, hard day, getting rid of those work clothes and feeling the freedom of being in your PJs. Throwing off that lace front, undoing your hair, that makeup, voila, gone. It's going to be a quiet, relaxed night. Well, not on S3. Bring a whole lot of vroom to your weeknights with Top Gear Season 16. Monday to Wednesday at 10 p.m. and Top Gear specials such as Top Gear from A to Z and Top Gear the Races. Friday nights from 9 to 11 p.m. Channel your inner vroom with BBC Primetime. Only on S3. Open up.
Join us in celebrating 30 years of Casual Day impact in support of persons with disabilities. Our theme is I See You, a powerful call to action to create an inclusive society where everyone is valued and recognized. Support by wearing your Casual Day stickers and support your merchandise on Friday, 6 September. Available from participating NPOs, retailers, government departments, schools, and casualday.co.za. Follow us on social media at Casual Day SA or WhatsApp 076 611 4780. This is an SABC supported initiative.
Call us on 086 000 2032.
I don't know what's happened to Joburg weather. This morning when the sun was rising, beautiful day. Now cloudy. It looks really, really cold out there. It looks like a London morning. Keep warm wherever you are. Patrick is in Pietermaritzburg. How's it, Patrick?
Jono, we've got a beautiful art gallery here in Pietermaritzburg called SAfm Art Gallery opposite the City Hall, and I want to encourage people in Pietermaritzburg to go and have a look. Jono, there's a lot of youth art there, and it's just really a lovely place. Got a little restaurant. I would encourage the Pietermaritzburg people to go and have a look.
Your phone broke up. What's the name?
It's SAfm Art Gallery,
Tatum.
Jono. Tatum, yeah.
Tatum Art Gallery opposite the big brick building.
Yes, boss. Yes, beautiful, beautiful art. A lot of youth art there. It's always changing the art procedure there, so I would encourage people to go and have a look, John.
Does it cost money to get in?
No, it doesn't cost you nothing. You just put your name on a register and you walk around, and there's a couple of floors that you can look at different art. So it's really a lovely spot.
All right, because that was the issue, Patrick. Thank you very much. Go to the Tatum Art Gallery opposite the City Hall in Pietermaritzburg. There was an art gallery in the new silos. I forget what its name is. In the silos in Cape Town, down at the waterfront. And I wanted to go visit there. There was a whole display and adverts. They put it all around the waterfront when I was in Cape Town. And I wanted to go visit that. And unless you go on like a certain day at a certain time, it was expensive to go and see. Now, I realize it costs money to get art into South Africa, to be able to host it, and artists need to be supported. But I just looked at that price and it was like, I walked out because I just couldn't afford it. So yeah, it's a balance, I guess, between having to make the money and having to be able to see the art and share that art with everyone. Let's take a WhatsApp voice note, 0614 104 107.
Good morning, John. This is Matlatsi from Pretoria. My issue with ANC is cadre deployment. Cadre deployment was introduced after 1994. They never said anything about it. So cadre deployment, and then inside the SOEs, there's corruption, there's job reservations, there's preferential treatment for cadres and their associates and families. It's like one big rotten plot to steal from the blacks what they promised us. They promised and then they stole from us. I don't like it.
Good morning, John and SAfm listeners. The problem of the ANC is corruption. The ANC members and their supporters, some of them feel like they own South Africa. They own everything that is in South Africa. Nobody else must tell them what to do. As long as they are benefiting from corruption, nothing is going to be right. Thanks, it's Lucy.
WhatsApp come through. The short left website's difficult to navigate and book. 98% of the time I end up not using it for anything. Please improve and make the viewing and booking process seamless. That's all about the websites. I haven't used it, to be honest. I've had a look at it, but I did that road trip. I'm sure you've heard about it many, many times. Did that road trip through the Northern Cape so I could explore. All of my friends are bored of me telling them about the road trip. But that was trying to find small towns and just stopping in the middle of nowhere. Stopped at a place called Kamiskroon. Didn't even know it existed. And I thought, yeah, I'm just going to stop there and support it. It was nothing. I woke up Sunday morning. The town was dead. There was a lovely church, but nobody's going to the church. I was very confused.
Good morning, John.
I'd like to take this opportunity just to congratulate the police on a job well done. According to your report, 8 robbers were shot while they were trying to execute a cash and transfer or something to that effect. All I'm saying is loss of life is we don't celebrate loss of life, but I do celebrate effective policing, and I'd love to see and hear more of that. More, please.
Yeah, I remember we spoke about, what was it, late last week, and there's still Twitter debates about if the police are being heavy-handed or not. And it's a discussion. Yeah, it's a discussion that's going to be had for a little while, as you hear, celebrating suspects being shot and killed. It's worrying, but it's also people are sick and tired of crime, and this is what's coming.
John, hi. People which are coming to South Africa for a better life, my brother, their countries must hold a full responsibility to make sure that those people, before they cross to South African borders, they have the proper documents like a visa or maybe a work permit. You understand? And those officials which are giving these people fraudulent documents, once they are found guilty, they mustn't have those benefits. Those benefits must be taken away from them so that they can have a harsh lesson. And those ones which are crossing the river, it's simple. They are breaking the law. They must be arrested. Simple. Skosana, Belfast, Northern Ireland.
I think that's about it. We've got time for one more. Let's squeeze in one more voice note. 0614 104 107.
Morning, Bro John. I'm celebrating with the police. They are doing their best. They must move the criminal. Criminals are putting this country at the wrong position. They must die. Fuck off.
Oh, apologies for the bad language. I just want to, let's wrap up. Lighter note. I finally found someone, and I was thinking of doing it. The Olympic Games are on the go, right? And we watch these Olympians do fantastic things and scoring high jumps and long jumps and going faster and higher and swimming at ridiculous speeds. But I finally found someone, and for the life of me, I can't find it. And if I do find it again, I will share it. There's a lady who is being the normal person. And she is competing and doing Olympic events as the normal person to compare her times with what Olympians are doing. I would love to do it. I want to race against Wade van Niekerk just to see how I do, just to see. And go, all right, that's Wade, who's running the 200 and whatever. And then let's see where John finishes. One day I'll race against Wade. Thanks very much for joining us. Back again tomorrow between 6 and 9. Thanks to the team for putting the show together. Kathy's up next. It's 9 o'clock.
Outsurance will go out of their way to try and save you money on your car insurance. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. SMS out to 30754. Now that's good news.
In our top stories, ANC NEC wrapping up its Lekgotla today, and Bangladesh Prime Minister resigns after deadly protests. Good morning. The ANC will wrap up its back-to-back NEC meeting and the NEC Lekgotla in Boksburg, east of Johannesburg, later today. The 6-day gathering was called to reflect on the outcomes of the elections and the program of action for next year. Several ANC NEC members are billed to brief the media on crime and GBV, immigration, local government intervention and water issues, as well as inclusive growth, job creation, investing in people and tackling the high cost of living, among others. Alliance partners Kusatu, the SACP and Sanko have also made their contributions to the NEC Lekgotla and used the opportunity to raise their opposition against the GNU. But ANC spokesperson Zuko Kotlimpi says that